Chapter 771. Ah, a sorrowful cry reverberated through the night. This is bad. Lin Muyu's expression changed under the illumination of the bonfire. What's wrong? Si Kongyao asked. Sense Lin Tongtian's aura. Ah. Si Kongyao calmed herself down and released her Saint Martial Venerable Cultivation base's spiritual sense. She found several auras at the limits of her spiritual sense's perception. One of the auras was extremely familiar, it was Lin Tongtian. However, his aura had become extremely weak. It was obvious that Lin Tongtian's current situation wasn't good. A dragon rider's expression changed. Brat, what do you mean? Do you think that Lord Dragon Rider Lin Tongtian is no match for a mere assassin? Do you think that Lin Tongtian is invincible? Lin Muyu asked in return. The dragon rider was instantly speechless. Shang Qian was a little flustered. Then what do we do now? What else can we do? Go and find Lin Tongtian. Lin Muyu pointed into the distance and said, he's in that direction. If we act quickly, we might be able to save his life. The faces of the 9 dragon knights who remained in the camp turned pale. Everyone knew about Lin Tongtian's level of cultivation. There were not many people in the entire Tianji Empire who could be a match for him. What kind of person could put Lin Tongtian in danger? Quick, don't leave anyone in the campsite. Just in case they send people to attack directly. Lin Muyu grabbed Lu Bai's arm and brought him into the air. Meanwhile, Si Kongyao, Chen Heng, and the others didn't have time to worry about the injured and brought Zhuang Xiaoyu and the others over as well. The dragon riders all mounted their giant dragons, spreading their wings and following closely behind. The moonlight was tranquil, and the open ground within the forest was a sea of blood. 2 incomplete corpses lay on the desolate grassland. Their bodies seemed to have been chopped into 4 or 5 pieces. Fresh blood and blood-red internal organs were scattered all over the ground. A thick smell of blood filled the surroundings, causing Lu Bai to hurriedly cover his mouth and nose. He almost vomited. Has Lord Lin Tongtian died in battle? Zhuang Xiaoyu was shocked. Lin Muyu's eyes swept across the field as she said, no, the clothes on these corpses don't belong to Lin Tongtian, but he's injured. Why are you so sure? Zhuang Xiaoyu was stunned. Lin Muyu didn't say much to him. Instead, she walked towards a nearby boulder and said, Lord Dragon Rider, come out. They've left. It's just us. Ah. A stifled howl could be heard from behind the rock. It was Lin Tongtian's voice. You guys can walk over on your own, I can't walk anymore, Uncle Lin. Si Kongyao hurriedly rushed over, and she was immediately frightened to the point that her beautiful face paled. She saw the Tianji Empire's number 1 dragon rider sitting miserably on a rock. His entire left arm had been chopped off, and the cut was still flowing with blood. In addition, the armor on his body was full of holes, and there were 2 arrows embedded in his chest. There was also a wound on his leg that had been pierced by a spear. Who is it? Si Kongyao asked in a trembling voice as tears flowed down her face. Lin Tongtian shook his head. I don't know yet. Yao, hurry up and use the golden wound ointment to stop the bleeding. My sea of energy is starting to leak out of my cultivation. If we don't stop it now, I'm afraid, Si Kongyao always had the golden wound ointment on her. She knelt beside Lin Tongtian and applied the ointment and bandaged his wound. However, the wound on Lin Tongtian's abdomen was extremely frightening. Wisps of golden light were leaking out of his sea of energy. The wound was small, but it was continuously leaking out of Lin Tongtian's cultivation. If she didn't stop it now, Lin Tongtian would probably become a cripple in 6 hours. What should we do? What should we do? Shang Qian was at a loss. Si Kongyao, on the other hand, was much calmer. Her pretty face was filled with sadness and anger. She opened her palms slightly and the power of the ice mystic formula circulated, quickly sealing the wound on Lin Tongtian's sea of energy. Although it couldn't heal him completely, it could at least stop the leakage of divine power. This way, Lin Tongtian could rely on his own cultivation to stop the leakage of divine power. Lin Muyu stood quietly at the side and didn't take the initiative to help. This wasn't because he was selfish, but because there were things that he shouldn't do. He had never been a good person. The Tianji Empire would become the enemy of Great Qin sooner or later, and Lin Tongtian's cultivation was destined to be one of the generals of the Tianji Empire. If he healed Lin Tongtian now, and Lin Tongtian's hands were stained with the blood of the soldiers of the Qin Empire in the future, he could only blame it on Lin Muyu. His bottom line was not to kill Lin Tongtian here. If he wanted to kill him, he had to do it on the battlefield. The 9 dragon knights rode on their giant dragons and circled the area, looking for the assailants. However, they couldn't find them. Only heaven knew who the assailants were and where they went. Don't let them go too far. Lin Tongtian opened his eyes and said weakly, that group of people is still around. Their target is us. Don't go too far. Yes, Lord. A dragon knight rode on a giant dragon and bowed respectfully. Si Kongyao said softly, Uncle Lin, could it be that you can't even tell who the opponent is? With your cultivation, how many people can seriously injure you? Lin Tongtian laughed bitterly. They were all masked, so I can only judge based on their strength. The person who chopped off my arm is a Saint Martial King. He has the cultivation of the 52nd Grotto Heaven stage, and his godhead is actually a 3rd-grade caste immortal godhead. After he summoned the Spirit Pearl of Law, the attack he launched was not something I could defend against. Si Kongyao was stunned. Caste immortal godhead. Caste immortal godhead. There were not many caste immortal godheads in the heavenly pole continent. The identity of the person who came seemed to be obvious. There were many Saint Martial Kings in the Wolf Valley, and their godheads were the most secretive. The 52nd Grotto Heaven stage and caste immortal godhead could only be a cultivator in the Wolf Valley. However, the Wolf Valley had always stood aloof from worldly affairs. Why would they come to the Forest of No Return, kill Bai Mingjia, injure Lin Tongtian, and publicly make an enemy of the Tianji Empire? Si Kongyao could not understand. At this moment, Lin Muyu asked, does the person with the caste immortal godhead cultivate the law of fire? Yes, young hero, how do you know? Lin Tongtian was stunned. Lin Muyu pointed to the west and said, about 7 miles away in that direction, there is an extremely strong law of fire rippling. If I'm not wrong, it should be this person. 7 miles away, Lin Tongtian shuddered. Oh no. What's wrong, Lord? A dragon knight asked. 7 miles to the west is where Fan Rui and the other dragon knights are patrolling. They are going for Fan Rui and the others. Lin Tongtian's expression changed drastically. He said, quick, release the wolf falcons and order Fan Rui and the others to gather here immediately. Only when we are together will we have the strength to fight against this group of foreign invaders. Quick. Yes. Lord, the wolf falcons soared into the sky, but no one knew if they were still useful. Lin Muyu remained silent. He was the only one here who had cultivated the spirit pulse technique, and he was also the one with the best observation skills. From the spirit pulse technique, he could sense that the powers of a few dragon knights had disappeared. Even the aura of their giant dragons had disappeared. Fan Rui and the other dragon knights were definitely not in a good state. What should we do now? Shi Tianming was already trembling. In his opinion, dragon knights were the most powerful beings. Many dragon knights were gods who rode on giant dragons. But from the looks of it, these gods had actually become the targets of others. They did not even have the strength to resist. What a tragic scene it was. Let's wait for daybreak. Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and said, let's wait until daybreak. Otherwise, we will only be at a disadvantage when they are in the dark and we are in the light. Lini, start a fire here. We will protect Lord Lin Tongtian until daybreak. All right. Lu Bai did not dare to go too far. He could only pick up some withered trees that had not sprouted in spring and burn them. Not long after, a bonfire rose up and illuminated the surroundings. It also brought a trace of warmth to the heavily injured Lin Tongtian. Lin Muyu held his long sword and paced around the grassland where the battle had just taken place. The ground was crisscrossed with traces of battle. He could not understand. Based on the abilities of this group of ambushers, they could have chopped off one of Lin Tongtian's arms. Why did they not kill him? Lin Tongtian had already lost his ability to fight. It was just a matter of finishing him off. It was too simple. Suddenly, something in the grass was reflecting a golden light. Lin Muyu bent down to pick it up. He discovered that it was a golden badge the size of a palm. There was a flame pattern on it, and it was stained with blood and mud. After wiping it clean, he realized that the workmanship was very exquisite. He walked back and said, "What is this? Do you recognize it?" "Ah." Si Kongyao took the badge. Her pretty face was instantly covered with a layer of frost. She said with a murderous look, "It's the Thunder Blaze sect. It's actually the heaven-damned Thunder Blaze sect." "Humph, is the Blackstone Empire openly declaring war on the Tianji Empire?" "What is the Thunder Blaze sect?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhuang Xiaoyu, who was at the side, explained, "Young hero, you may not know this, but the Thunder Blaze sect is one of the 3 sacred sects of the mainland. It is also the national sect of the Blackstone Empire. If this group of people really came from the Thunder Blaze sect, then it makes sense." "What do you mean?" Lin Muyu continued to ask. Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled faintly. "The leader of the Thunder Blaze sect, Longxi, is a peerless genius. He stepped into the divine state at the age of 27, so he always looks like he is in his 20s. He is very young, and he also has the forged deity lattice. He cultivates in the law of ice and fire. But that's not right. The person who injured Uncle Lin was in the 52nd heaven realm, and Longxi had already reached the 92nd heaven realm a few hundred years ago. That's not right." Si Kongyao nodded and pondered for a while. She said, "Could it be that he deliberately lowered his cultivation to create the illusion that the Wolf Valley attacked us, so as to cause a war between the Tianji Empire and the Wolf Valley? It's hard to say." Zhuang Xiaoyu said, "The Blackstone Empire has always been the weaker of the 3 empires. If we start a war with the Wolf Valley, they will be happy to see it." Lin Tongtian, who was lying on the ground, said, "Stop making wild guesses. Now, what we need to think about is how to get out of here alive." In the distance, the wind was whistling. Lord Dragon Knight, Fan Rui, and the others are back. Chapter 772. Only 3 people returned. The 3 Dragon Knights, including Fan Rui, stumbled down from the sky and landed on the ground. One of them even fell directly to the ground with his dragon. There was a huge wound on the dragon's wing, and the entire wing seemed to have been chopped off by a sword. Fan Rui was also heavily injured. His face was covered in blood, and there were several sword wounds on his legs and shoulders. There was even an arrow stuck in his back, almost piercing through his heart. "Help me up," Lin Tongtian said shakily. Si Kongyao hurriedly helped Lin Tongtian up. "Sir." Fan Rui flipped down from the dragon's back. His face was full of depression, and his eyes were bloodshot. He knelt on one knee and refused to get up. "I have failed you, sir. We were ambushed. The attackers were very strong. We suffered heavy losses. 7 of our dragon riders died in battle. The 3 of us were lucky enough to escape and return to sea, sir." As he spoke, Fan Rui raised his head and saw that one of Lin Tongtian's arms was missing. He shuddered. "Sir, your arm." Lin Tongtian felt an inexplicable chill in his heart. "Don't blame yourself. They ambushed me first, and then went to ambush you. All the blame is on me. I, Lin Tongtian, thought too highly of myself and underestimated the enemy. As a result, everyone was harmed. No. It's not Sir's fault." Fan Rui held onto a broken dragon sword. His face was ashen. "Our brothers who died in battle will not blame anyone. They were protecting our territory and sacrificed their lives for our country. Sir, don't blame yourself. Lin Tongtian took a deep breath. They killed the dragon riders. Did they take the dragon away? Dragons were one of the most conspicuous treasures in the celestial pole continent. They had a long lifespan, and their mating and childbirth periods were also very long. Their birth rate was also very low. As a result, there were only about 1,000 dragon riders in the celestial pole continent. Every dragon cost a lot. The gold coins needed to nurture a dragon rider army was definitely equivalent to the taxes of a province. They didn't, Fan Roy said, those bastards killed the dragon and took the dragon crystal. They only wanted to kill, not to take the dragon. Those bastards. Lin Tongtian took a deep breath. How many wolf falcons do we have left? 2. Send one to Tianji City to ask for help. Yes. Lin Muyu said, I'm afraid the wolf falcon might not be able to reach Tianji City, right? I know, but this is also a chance for us. Lin Tongtian glanced at Lin Muyu and said, young hero, you don't seem to be afraid at all. What's the point of being afraid? Lin Muyu crossed her arms and spoke in a carefree manner. Yes, if fear worked, then everyone would be saved. Si Kongyao supported Lin Tongtian and asked, Uncle Lin, what should we do now? Travel during the day and gather together to rest at night. Do not separate. Lin Tongtian sighed, we'll be safe once we enter the Celestial Empire's official road. There are troops from the Celestial Empire around the official road. As long as we ask for their help, they will definitely help us. Yes, that's the only way. Lin Muyu didn't mind. He just wanted to see what the Celestial Empire's troops were like. The Celestial Empire occupied 40% of the entire Celestial Pole continent. They would be one of the strongest enemies in the future. They had to know their enemies well. After daybreak, everyone cooked and ate. Then, they continued their journey. This time, they didn't have to worry about any injuries. They split up, either flying or riding dragons. They tried their best to fly out of the forest of no return before nightfall and escape from this land cursed by death. The wind whistled. Lin Muyu held Lu Bai's arm with one hand and carried him in the front. Behind them were 12 giant dragons flying slowly. Lin Tongtian's giant dragon had been killed in order to protect him. It was beheaded and abandoned in the wilderness. Lin Tongtian didn't even allow his subordinates to retrieve the dragon crystal. Although the dragon crystal was the most precious part of a giant dragon, Lin Tongtian couldn't bear to do so. After all, it was a mount that had accompanied him for many years. After flying for less than 2 hours, a faint aura came from the clouds in front of them. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse detection technique detected a large number of powerful auras. She couldn't help but frown and said, not good. There's something in the sky in front of us. There's something in the sky? Dragon Knight Fan Roy was stunned. What could it be? Lin Tongtian squinted his eyes and said loudly, land. We can't fly anymore. It's the sting bees. That's right. Although the sting bees were only 6th-tier demon spirits, there was a large number of them. Once they were surrounded by thousands of sting bees, even the Saint Martial God might not be able to escape safely. Zhuang Xiaoyu waved his purple gold fan and said, land. The giant dragon swooped down. When everyone landed, they looked up and saw a dense swarm of sting bees covering the sky. There were at least tens of thousands of them. It turned out that Monster Emperor Nushi wasn't lying when she said there were hundreds of thousands of demon spirits in the forest of no return. Lin Tongtian's scalp went numb. He said, how terrifying. If they are given another 1,000 years, all these sting bees will become demon king bee emperors. I'm afraid, this celestial pole continent will no longer be the territory of humans. They don't seem to want to attack us. Lin Muyu saw some clues. Shang Qian nodded. Yes, they seem to want to force us to the ground. Si Kongyao and Zhuang Xiaoyu frowned. Landing on the ground meant that their speed would be greatly reduced. Anyway, they wouldn't be able to leave the forest of no return today. At night, those killers might come again, right? At this thought, everyone's hearts were filled with despair. After traveling 100 miles in a day, night fell as scheduled. Lin Tongtian chose a valley to set up camp. A few dragon knights were stationed outside. After killing a rocky goat, they skinned it and removed its innards. Lu Bai placed it on a spear and roasted it. However, everyone was so suffocated by the feeling of death that they couldn't even detect the aroma of meat. After a quick meal, they all fell asleep around the campfire. Lin Muyu lay on Lu Bai's luggage and closed her eyes. However, she couldn't fall asleep no matter what. Ripples came from the spiritual pulse technique again. A group of auras were hiding about 5 miles away, not too far away, not too near, waiting for the best opportunity to strike. However, they still didn't make a move until dawn. Even when Shang Qian helped Shen Heng to relieve himself and left the valley, they still didn't make a move. Could it be that Shang Qian and Shen Heng weren't important enough for them to make a move? Lin Muyu frowned. The sun was about to rise. She might as well sleep for a while. Not long after, a rustling sound came from beside her. It was Si Kongyao who had woken up. She took a water bag and said softly, "I'll go get some water to wash Uncle Lin Tongtian's wounds. Otherwise, they might ulcerate." Lin Tongtian said, "Okay, be careful. Get close to him and don't go too far." "I know. Don't worry, I'm not a lamb waiting to be slaughtered." Si Kongyao laughed softly. She was still very confident in her own strength. After Si Kongyao got up, Lin Muyu couldn't sleep again. She flipped over and grabbed the Ice Origin sword. She patted Lu Bai's shoulder and said, "I'm going to relieve myself. You sleep well." "Okay." Lu Bai was still sleepy. "Get up early and come back early. Don't get killed. F***CK, don't you wish for me to be well?" Lin Muyu said angrily, her figure disappearing into the darkness before dawn, trailing after Si Kongyao. He had almost completely blended his aura into the surroundings. This was the profoundness of the spiritual pulse technique. In terms of hiding one's aura, it was not inferior to Bai Yin's tortoise-breathing technique. Under the moonlight, Si Kongyao held a water bag and flew at a low altitude like a fairy. The nearest stream was less than a kilometer away. It was relatively safe. However, Lin Muyu didn't think so. The aura of the assassins was still less than 5 kilometers away. However, one of them had disappeared. Just like the previous time, the spirit pulse technique could only detect his aura when he attacked. This person also had a knack for hiding aura. When Si Kongyao bent down to get water from the stream, that aura appeared again. Whoosh! A black shadow dashed through the bamboo forest. A murderous rapier went straight for Si Kongyao's back. Hua! An ice shield appeared and blocked this person's attack almost perfectly. Si Kongyao seemed to be prepared. Her pretty face was filled with anger. "Are you the one who chopped off Lin Tongtian's arm?" "That's right, it's me." The person was very calm. The light of the fire rule spirit bead shone around his blade. He smiled faintly and said, "Si Kongyao, you can die now." Indeed, this person's target was only Si Kongyao. To him, even Shang Qian was not as meaningful as Si Kongyao's death. The sword light was like fire. In an instant, he attacked 7 to 8 times, breaking Si Kongyao's ice mystic arts. The dignified Tianji sect's first mistress was actually unable to retaliate under this person's attack. Pung! With a kick, Si Kongyao's abdomen was injured. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fell into the bamboo forest. The impact of her body was so strong that she only stopped after crushing the entire bamboo forest. Die! The person's sword aura flew like a shuttle. However, at this moment, his heart suddenly trembled. Someone was coming from behind, and it was also an expert. Wang! A whirlpool of flames wrapped around an ice frost sword. The assassin could not react in time and could only forcefully block it with his long sword. Dang! At the same time that the long sword was shaken off, a leg wrapped in a whirlpool kicked at him. During the intense battle, the assassin was actually distracted. He took a glance at the attacker. It was the most inconspicuous person among Si Kongyao's group. This young man dressed in a paladin attire looked like he had an ordinary cultivation. However, his sword contained the divine power of the 22nd Grotto Heaven Realm cultivation. Furthermore, it was 2 to 3 times stronger than an ordinary martial venerable's. It actually caused the assassin's palm to reverberate with a sense of shock. The hilt of the sword was turned upside down, and he slammed down violently towards Lin Muyu's ankle. Such a fast speed. If this attack landed, it would at least shatter Lin Muyu's ankle. He could not fight it head-on. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu turned around and retracted her left leg. Her body was in the air, and she kicked towards the assassin's lower body. Good leg technique. Chapter 773. This set of leg technique was as fast as lightning and was closely linked, making it impossible for one to defend against it. However, it still couldn't cause any damage to the assassin. When the boot landed on his abdomen, it was blocked by a golden light wall. It was the divine wall. Any god state expert would have a chance to comprehend the divine wall when they broke through to the 30th paradise. The higher the talent, the higher the chance. It was enough to show that the assassin in front of them was definitely a talented person. With a swing of the blade, Lin Muyu's next round of attack was forcefully pushed back. There was a burning sensation around his body. The force field that the assassin had condensed was really scorching. With a sudden turn of his body, the assassin raised his palm and struck out. The raging flames in his palm expanded instantly. It was as though a huge flaming palm was pouncing towards Lin Muyu's face. The murderous aura was terrifying. Lin Muyu didn't have any time to react at all. He raised his fist subconsciously and the 7 luminaries' profound force was filled up in the blink of an eye. The space started to distort. All the 7 luminaries' profound force seemed to be concentrated at one point and went straight for the opponent's palm, for luminaries' demon and god's cry. Bang! The flames and the purple 7 luminaries' profound force burst out. The assassin's body swayed on the spot and stood firm. As for Lin Muyu, he was actually pushed back by nearly 10 meters by the collision. The difference in their cultivation level was obvious at a glance. The waves of God's tide on his fist were attacking and numbing his nerves. His entire left arm felt as though it was about to be burned off. Lin Muyu was covered in cold sweat. The waves of his opponent's 52nd paradise were too fierce and he almost couldn't bear it. After all, one was a hierarch and the other was a divine king. Moreover, his opponent had the forged immortal physique. The difference was too big. As though he had seen through the truth of Lin Muyu's strength, the vigilance in the assassin's eyes decreased. He held his sword and smiled. If this is all you have, then, you can die now. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He swung his sword gently and frost danced around. It was the prelude to the icy jade frost's attack. Pa! Fallen leaves fluttered in the air, and under the impact of the airflow, Lin Muyu once again clashed with her opponent. Her sword continuously slashed with the penetrative power of jade snow ice, and streams of ice and snow splattered in all directions. The assassin did not dare to underestimate her either. He directly took out his spirit pearl of law, greatly increasing his divine power. Every sword strike brought with it a scorching flame. After nearly 10 rounds, Lin Muyu's power began to weaken, and she was no longer able to maintain her strongest attacks under the opponent's domain force field. What a pity. A talent like you is going to die like this. The assassin leaped up, and rings of raging flames descended from the sky, imprisoning Lin Muyu on the ground like a cage. Law spirit beads surged around the blade of his sword, and a mighty strike descended from the sky. He actually planned to use this strike to directly kill Lin Muyu. Phew, Lin Muyu lowered her body and took a deep breath. A crescent moon-shaped energy seeped into the blade of her sword. At the same time, with a loud shout, the fire and ice law spirit beads flew out of her body, and she unleashed a falling moon river straight at her opponent. Boom! Flames and ice exploded in the sky, crashing in all directions. A loud sound rang through the clouds. In just a moment, Lin Tongtian and the others would definitely hear the news and rush over. There wasn't much time left for this assassin. But what Lin Muyu didn't expect was that River Falling Moon would actually be completely defeated by the opponent's law of fire. Her attack instantly crumbled, and the assassin's sword slashed through her protective astral energy. Pooh! A wound appeared on Lin Muyu's chest, and fresh blood flowed out. What? When the assassin saw the 2 law spirit beads around Lin Muyu's arm, he was dumbfounded. Could it be that this brat also had a forged immortal fate? Thinking of this, he couldn't let this brat live anymore. The assassin's figure descended with the wind, and his legs grabbed onto Lin Muyu's right arm with lightning speed. His fist descended from the sky, and with a paw, it landed on her wrist, and the ice origin sword instantly flew out of her hand. Be careful, in the bamboo forest, the heavily injured Si Kongyao felt a chill in her heart. Seeing that Lin Muyu was about to be killed, she actually felt a heart-wrenching pain. Was this an illusion? Between life and death, Lin Muyu's battle experience showed itself. Not only did she not panic, she even responded calmly. After the ice origin sword flew out of her hand, she suddenly opened her right hand, and a golden light exploded in the night. This was the light of dawn ability of the gourd martial spirit. In an instant, the assassin's eyes were almost blinded, and he screamed in pain. Shwa shwa shwa. The little demonic noise blade at her waist spun in her left hand, and Lin Muyu slashed out without thinking. Poochie. Blood splattered everywhere, and the assassin's wrist was directly cut open. The demonic noise blade's high-speed spin had broken through the god wall, and left a bone-deep wound on his wrist. Bastard. The assassin flew into a rage. The instant he flipped over from above Lin Muyu, his fist landed on Lin Muyu's back. Pung! Under the heavy fist, Lin Muyu flew into the bamboo forest on the other side like a cannonball. Bamboo leaves swirled in the air, and a few frightened hares ran into the distance. Ga. The assassin wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a burning pain came from his wrist. He used the sword in his right hand to support his body, and step by step, he walked towards Lin Muyu. His face was full of killing intent as he said, "I will kill you. I will kill you." However, at this time, the voice of a dragon knight came from the sky. "Miss Si Kongyao, where are you?" The dragon knight had come. The assassin was startled. If he stayed any longer, he might be at a great disadvantage. After all, he was already injured. His gaze fell on the bamboo forest. That brat was only seriously injured, but not dead. How could he be willing to give up? Shwa! The spatial wall was torn open, but he still left. Compared to his life, killing was nothing. Yao, Lin Tongtian's voice came from the sky. His dragon had already been killed, and he could only fly by himself. He held the frozen ice spear in his hand and flew over. He put down the spear and helped Si Kongyao, whose white clothes were stained with blood. Lin Tongtian was so scared that his face turned pale. "Yao, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Si Kongyao shook her head and pointed to the bamboo forest in the distance. Quick, go and see the young hero, his injuries are even worse." If not for him, Yao would have been killed by the assassin. The dragon knight Fan Roy leaped down from the dragon's back and found the pitiful Lin Muyu in a pile of broken bamboo. There was a sword wound on his chest, and 2 of the bones in his back seemed to have been broken. However, his complexion was still good, and at least there was life in his eyes. "Don't move." Lin Muyu's voice was weak. "Lord Fan Roy, please let me lie down." "Don't move. I need to heal my injuries and bones first. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be trouble." Fan Roy nodded in agreement. At this time, the other dragon knights had also landed. They looked at Lin Muyu, but they did not look down on him. Instead, they felt a sense of admiration. The assassins were obviously the same group of people from before. Even someone as strong as Lin Tongtian had his arm chopped off by them. On the other hand, not only did Lin Muyu save Si Kongyao, but he also saved his own life. It was enough to show how high his cultivation was. Just like that, Lin Muyu lay quietly in the dewy bamboo forest. He closed his eyes and guided the supreme divine powers in his body to unclog the bruises in his meridians and speed up the recovery and healing of his bones. A part of his supreme divine powers originated from Fushi's divine powers, and he was born with a strong self-healing ability. Not long after, his broken bones began to heal on their own. However, it would take at least half a day for them to fully heal. At this time, Lin Tongtian supported Si Kongyao as they walked over. Si Kongyao had already finished applying the medicine. She knelt beside Lin Muyu and said, "Young hero, thank you for saving me. You were injured so badly." "It's all right." Lin Muyu looked straight at the sky, which was gradually brightening. To be able to exchange blows with such an expert is one of the happiest things in life. "First mistress, you don't have to worry about it." Lin Tongtian frowned and asked, "Young hero, since you've exchanged blows with this person, did you notice anything?" "The law of fire and the cast immortal character. Other than that, I don't know anything else. His martial arts are sometimes domineering and sometimes tricky. It's hard to defend against. Furthermore, this person is probably targeting First Mistress Si Kongyao. Are they here for Yao?" "Why?" Lin Tongtian was stunned. Lin Muyu smiled. "I don't know either. However, Lord Lin Tongtian, can you imagine what would happen if Si Kongyao was assassinated?" Lin Tongtian pondered deeply for a moment. Yao is the apple of Master's eye. If Yao has really been harmed, then Master will surely be enraged. At that time, the entire Empyrean sect will launch a war. So long as we find out who did it, no matter if it's the Darkstone Empire or the Heavenly Jew Empire, a war will surely be unavoidable. That's right. That's his motive. But Lin Tongtian was only a martial artist. He did not know much about tactics and schemes. He said, "But if the Thunder Ember sect does this, wouldn't they be creating trouble for the Blackstone Empire?" The Blackstone Empire's military is not even half of the Tianji sect's. Although the Thunder Ember sect is one of the three saint sects, they are far from being comparable to the Tianji sect. Why would they seek trouble for themselves? I'm afraid it might not be the Thunder Ember sect. Lin Muyu said. This, no matter how stupid Lin Tongtian was, he had already figured it out. Could it be that someone is trying to frame the Thunder Ember sect? I'm not sure. Lin Muyu shook her head. We can't be sure for now. Anyone can be a suspect. Anyway, Lord Lin Tongtian, you just have to protect Lady Si Kongyao for the time being. Yes, I will. Lin Tongtian looked at the sky and said, It's almost dawn. Let's get ready to set off. I'll order someone to cut down bamboo and make a stretcher for you. This way, it won't affect our journey. We can enter the official road of the Celestial Empire before nightfall and seek refuge with their army. At least for now, the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire are still on good terms. Yes, I'll leave it to you. Lin Muyu nodded. She felt a wave of fatigue and fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 774. When he woke up again, it was already dusk. When Lin Muyu opened his eyes, he found that his body was swaying. He was on a stretcher, and although the wound on his chest had been bandaged, there was still a burning pain. The bones in his back had partially healed, but the faint pain was unbearable. The dense forest above him receded, and when he looked up, he saw the back of a dragon knight in dragon armor. It was rare to see two dragon knights carrying a stretcher. It was not easy to have such treatment. You're awake? On a horse, Si Kongyao looked at him with a smile. Yes, we're out of the forest of no return. Yes, we were out of the forest of no return in the afternoon. Now we're on the official road of the Celestial Empire. Si Kongyao pursed her lips and pointed to the front, saying, "We showed our identification, and the Celestial Empire's garrison general sent 1,000 troops to escort us." Lin Muyu nodded and looked around. There were soldiers with swords all around them. These people were the army of the Celestial Empire. The Tianzhu Empire was the largest country, and its emblem was an aggressive wolf's head. These soldiers' arms and clothes were embroidered with a copper wolf's head. All of them were silent and only knew how to hurry forward. "Where are we going now?" Lin Muyu asked again. This time, it was Shang Qian who answered him on the left, to Lao Han City, the capital of the Celestial Empire. "We are now in the Tianzhu province, where Lao Han City is located. It will only take 3 days to get to Lao Han City." Coincidentally, at noon, we received a letter from the Wolf Falcon. It was a letter of credence, about the engagement between the third princess, Her Highness Bai Mingchang, and the second prince of the Celestial Empire, Chen Yu. "So, this time, we are on a diplomatic mission to the Celestial Empire." She paused and said, "Perhaps, if we have the identity of an envoy, the assassins will not dare to do anything to us." "Oh," Lin Muyu responded and did not speak again. Just like what Shang Qian had said, they didn't encounter any more unforeseen events until nighttime. After all, there were 1,000 soldiers protecting them, so those assassins would naturally have some restraints. There were countless deity realm experts in the heavenly great continent, so the army naturally had a way to deal with deity realm experts. As for the specifics, this was something that Lin Muyu also wanted to know. On the first night, they camped in the wilderness, safe and sound. By the evening of the next day, the team had already entered a relatively prosperous county city. The population had increased, and the number of troops guarding along the way had also increased. In terms of the number of troops, the Celestial Empire had 1.5 million people, which was almost twice the number of troops of the Tianji Empire. However, the combat ability of the troops was far inferior to that of the Tianji Empire. They were poor in resources, and there were only 2 sacred martial gods. Otherwise, the Celestial Empire would have long declared war on the Tianji Empire. "Sir Dragon Rider, let's rest in the inn up ahead tonight. We'll set off tomorrow morning and arrive at Frosty City in the evening," the accompanying Chiliarch said respectfully. Although Lin Tongtian had lost an arm, he still had at least 70% of his strength. To these ordinary soldiers, Lin Tongtian was still a superior existence. "Yes, thank you for your trouble, General." "You're welcome." Lin Muyu had already started riding on his own. He had a board on his back to protect his newly healed bones. This kind of treatment method amazed Si Kongyao, Zhuang Xiaoyu, and the others. They had never seen such a strange treatment method before. Taiyuan County, a prosperous county city in Tianjua Province. At night, the county city was bustling with activity as the lanterns were lit. The banquet was hosted by the princess's residence. After dinner, they returned to the inn. Lin Tongtian needed to rest, but the few young people could not contain their excitement. After all, they had stayed in the forest of no return for nearly 10 days. They did not eat well or dress well. Now that they were finally in the bustling city, they naturally wanted to go out for a walk. Moreover, the county city of the Celestial Empire was very exotic to them. They could not miss it. "We're just going out for a walk. We'll be back in a short while." Si Kongyao pouted and persuaded Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu did not want to go out. He wanted to take advantage of the time when he was injured to study the technique of using the law of space that he had secretly learned from the demon emperor Nusslayer. He shook his head and said, "No, I'm tired. I want to rest early." However, Shi Tianming blinked his eyes and said, "Young hero, let's go out and take a look. The Celestial Empire is different from the Tianji Empire. It is said that, the women of the Celestial Empire are hot and passionate. They are much more open than the women of our country. Since we are all here, why should we stay in the room alone? Don't you think so?" Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Bai Mingjie's ashes had not been properly placed, but this group of people actually had the mood to go out and play. It seemed that they did not have much of a relationship with Bai Mingjie in Tianji City. At this moment, Shang Qian also persuaded, I know that young hero is worried about safety. Don't worry, no one would dare to kill anyone in the prefecture city, not to mention this is the famous Taiyuan prefecture. There are 10,000 guards in the prefecture city. No one would dare to kill anyone here. Otherwise, they would be wanted by the entire Celestial Empire. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Miss Shang Qian, you are thinking too simply. That assassin is a sacred martial king. So what if there are many people in the army? That's not necessarily true. Shang Qian smiled and said, in front of an army of thousands upon thousands of men and horses, even the Saint Martial God would be captured as long as a single demonic heart arrow hits. Demon heart arrow? Yes, don't you know? Si Kongyao, who was at the side, widened her eyes and said, this is the weapon that the armies of the three empires are equipped with, the demon heart arrow. The arrowhead is tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone. As long as the demon heart arrow penetrates the skin and fuses with the blood vessels, the essence of the demon heart stone will naturally plant the demon heart in the body of the god-level expert, and he will not be able to use any divine power. As she spoke, Si Kongyao pulled out a black arrow from the quiver on the back of a guard and said, this is it. Look at it yourself, the arrowhead is tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone. The demon heart stone is born to suppress the power of the gods. As long as the essence of the demon heart stone enters the body, even the top experts of the 99-level grotto heavens will lose their cultivation within 2 hours. Lin Muyu's heart sank when she heard this. Planting the demon heart. That's amazing. Are there many of these demon heart stones? Not too many, but not too few either. Si Kongyao patted his shoulder and said with a smile, don't worry so much. Don't worry, the armies here won't do anything to us. Moreover, even if the demon heart arrow is the nemesis of god-level experts, it must at least be able to hit the target. Therefore, the sacred martial kings and sacred martial gods who have the ability of the divine wall won't care about the demon heart stone at all. Lin Muyu nodded. All right then. Let's go shopping then. Luckily, there weren't many god-level experts in the Shattered Cauldron realm. This demon heart stone could become a weapon for the Shattered Cauldron realm to deal with the celestial pole continent. It was just that she didn't know how to control it for the time being. When she had the chance, she must study it properly. At night, the streets were brightly lit. The culture here was almost exactly the same as that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. The most prosperous areas in Taiyuan County were almost all occupied by restaurants, weapon shops, brothels, and gambling houses. Zhuang Xiaoyu, Shi Tianming, and the others were all famous people and naturally wouldn't gamble. Moreover, with the two great beauties, Si Kongyao and Shang Qian, following them, they looked serious and didn't even look sideways when they passed by the brothels. However, Lin Muyu couldn't help but take a few more glances and said with a smile, "Io. The women of the Celestial Empire are really passionate. All the clothes on that dancer added up are only the size of a palm. Is there still any law?" Ha ha ha, seeing that his eyes were about to pop out, Si Kongyao also got angry out of nowhere. She grabbed Lin Muyu's wrist and pulled him away. Panting with rage, she said, "What are you looking at? Be careful or you'll get a needle hole if you look too much. Humph, you're really too young and hot-blooded. You can't even resist this small temptation." Shang Qian giggled. Lu Bai looked at his brows and said with a smile, "Young hero, Miss Sikong is jealous. You mustn't look at other women. If you want to look, you can only look at her." "Did I?" Lin Muyu was at a loss. Si Kongyao's face was flushed red. She actually didn't refute Lu Bai's words. Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. No one knew what he was thinking. He probably thought that Si Kongyao had no chance in this lifetime. It was obvious that after Lin Muyu saved her in the forest of no return, Si Kongyao's attitude towards Lin Muyu had become much more intimate. She seemed to have the intention of secretly giving her heart to Lin Muyu. Although Lin Muyu wanted to befriend Si Kongyao because her identity was too special, she didn't want to take advantage of Si Kongyao's feelings for her. She said with a smile, Bai, don't talk nonsense. Why would Miss Sikong like me? Besides, I already have a sweetheart in my hometown. Hee hee. He looked at Sikong Yao with a smile and said, Miss, if you want to thank me for saving you, just treat me to a big meal late at night. It seems that the food in those restaurants must be very fragrant. I can smell it from afar. Sikong Yao felt a little disappointed for no reason. She wanted to ask who his sweetheart was, but she was the miss of the Tianji sect after all. Such a noble identity did not allow her to lower herself. She said with a smile, you actually want to eat more after eating so much delicious food in the princess residence. You're really a foodie. But let's talk about it after we walk around for a while. Okay. Lin Muyu's gaze fell on the shops on both sides again. It was time to think of a way to get some demonic spirit stones. In the celestial pole continent, the demonic spirit stones were the most attractive things to Lin Muyu, followed by the demonic heart stone. Both of them were very important. The demonic spirit stones could greatly increase the strength of the few god state experts in the shattered tripod world, while the demonic heart stone would be a sharp weapon in the future. Besides, Lin Muyu also had a plan. The white diamond arrowhead of the shattered tripod world was very sharp. If a sanctuary expert drew the bow, it would be able to penetrate the god state expert's divine power wall. If the demonic heart stone was refined into the arrowhead of the white diamond, this kind of arrow would simply be a nightmare for the god state expert. As long as it was used properly, it might not be impossible for a sanctuary expert to kill a god state expert. However, after thinking about it carefully, it was too risky. The senses of a god state expert were very sharp. Perhaps, a sanctuary expert could be killed instantly by teleportation before the bow was drawn. Everything she thought about now was just wishful thinking. Chapter 775. Lao Han City was a majestic city on a plain. It was also the economic, military, and political center of the entire Celestial Empire. When Lin Muyu, Sikong Yao, and the rest arrived 100 miles away from Lao Han City, they were already welcomed by the officials and troops sent by the capital city. It seemed that the Celestial Empire valued this group of envoys very much. When they arrived 50 miles away, there was another group of people welcoming them. By the time they entered Lao Han City, there were already close to 2,000 people. They entered the city in a grandiose manner and were welcomed by the citizens. Lin Muyu did not have any military or official positions in the Tianji Empire, so her identity was only that of Sikong Yao's friend. Riding on a warhorse, they slowly entered the city. Looking at the numb faces of the citizens who were welcoming them on both sides, she could not help but snicker in her heart. What a bunch of unprofessional actors. Needless to say, these citizens were organized by the officials. Otherwise, who would be so free to welcome the envoys of another country? Not long after, another group of people dressed in official robes came to welcome them. They exchanged some polite words with Lin Tongtian and Sikong Yao. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was distracted and only looked at the buildings in Lao Han City. As expected, although Lao Han City was vast, it was still inferior to Tianji City in terms of prosperity. Just the number of combat temples alone was much lesser. After nearly an hour of traveling, they finally arrived at the palace. A gilded staircase led directly to the main hall. Everyone walked up the staircase. On both sides of the staircase, there were imperial guards with bright swords and armor. Further away, there were many giant dragons standing beside the dragon pillars. Their giant heads were staring at the visitors in the distance. Beside the giant dragons were dragon knights with helmets under their armpits. They had their dragon swords on the ground and were looking straight ahead. Obviously, this was the Celestial Empire's display of force to the envoys. Lin Tongtian held the frozen ice spear in his single arm, his gaze looking straight in the direction of the main hall, his footsteps heavy and steady. Behind him, Zhuang Xiaoyu, Sikong Yao, Shang Qian, and Shi Tianming did not lose the bearing of the descendants of famous sections. Their expressions were calm, as if they did not see anything happening around them. However, there was one person who was different. Lu Bai looked to both sides, and could not stop exclaiming in surprise, is that Zilong? Damn, such big teeth, I was scared to death. Is the golden border on the steps real? Young hero, can we deduct one piece from it? We'll be rich. The palace maids are so beautiful, they are so voluptuous. Wow, the pendant on the palace lantern is a purple crystal. Rich, 2F** King Rich. Lin Muyu didn't pay any attention to it, and only leisurely strolled beside Si Kongyao. The Ice Origin sword hung at his waist, his hand on the sword hilt. His gaze was calm and composed, as if he didn't see the soldiers on both sides. It was as if these elite soldiers were just chess pieces in his eyes, with no other meaning. Shang Qian couldn't help but look at Lin Muyu a few more times. He was full of admiration. If Lin Muyu was wearing his military uniform, Shang Qian would definitely think that he was a famous general of the Celestial Empire. Perhaps only a famous general who had experienced hundreds of battles and strategized would turn a blind eye to such a killing scene. Moreover, Lin Muyu's gaze was extremely calm. The more solemn this scene was, the more precious this kind of calmness was. Who exactly was he? How could he be so calm? Did he have a motive for getting close to Si Kongyao? Shang Qian wrote a series of question marks in his heart. Outside the grand hall, a guard captain shouted, "Summon Lin Tongtian, Si Kongyao, and the rest of the envoys." Lin Tongtian cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." They stepped onto the red carpet that was covered with golden patterns and slowly entered the main hall. There were many officials on both sides of the hall, and there were civil and military officials on both sides. Most of the civil officials looked indifferent, sneering and disdainful, while the military officials were full of hostility. Although the two countries had not started a war, they were not on friendly terms. Moreover, after the plain boundary disappeared, this war was inevitable. Lin Muyu raised her head and glanced around. The eyes of a group of generals met with her. Among them, there were a few gazes that were unusually sharp, sending chills down one's spine. Presumably, those generals' cultivation should be pretty good, at least at the immortal state. On the throne sat a seemingly frail man in his 50s. With one look, one could tell that he must have been addicted to wine and women. His body had already been emptied. His eyes were unfocused and he seemed to be suffering from a variety of illnesses. Chen Hai, the Emperor of the Celestial Empire. Although Lin Muyu was not a medical officer, she knew that this man would not live for more than 5 years. The Celestial Empire would have to change its emperor sooner or later. Behind Chen Hai, there were two young men on the left and right. The one on the left was dressed in luxurious clothes and had a frivolous look on his face. He was the Crown Prince, Qin Xian. According to the legends, the Crown Prince of the Celestial Empire was like his father. He was addicted to women and poetry all day long. He did not think about improving himself and was a good-for-nothing. From the looks of it, it was more or less the case. On the other hand, the young man on the right had a sharp look in his eyes. His loose robe revealed his collar, and even the chainmail on his chest could be seen. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He looked at Lin Muyu and the others calmly. When his eyes met with Lin Muyu's, he seemed to smile. It was hard to tell if it was an illusion. Qin Yu, the second prince of the Celestial Empire. He was the most ambitious among the princes. He recruited many followers and practiced the art of war. His cultivation had already reached the Holy Martial King realm. This man was not simple. Lord Lin Tongtian, the first dragon rider of the Tianji Empire, is here. Please forgive me for not going out to greet you. Chen Hai stood up and coughed violently. He smiled and said, "How was the journey?" "Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty." Everything was fine. Lin Tongtian bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, your arm?" Chen Hai noticed it too. "I encountered an assassin on the way and lost an arm." Lin Tongtian's expression was cold. "I see. The border is not peaceful. Please take care, Your Majesty." "Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty." Lin Tongtian took out the letter of credence and said, "This is a letter written by His Majesty." It concerns the marriage between the second Prince Qin Yu and the third princess of the Tianji Empire, Bai Mingchang. Please take a look. Someone, bring it here. After Qin Hai finished reading the letter, his expression was uncertain. He pushed the letter to the back and said, this is your marriage contract. Take a look at it yourself. Her Highness Bai Mingchang is both beautiful and talented. It is your fortune to be able to marry her. You must cherish this marriage. Qin Yu nodded, I will follow father's decision. All right, then let's pick a date for the wedding. Qin Hai stood up and coughed a few more times. He said, I am not feeling well and need to rest early. Crown Prince, please host the lunch and entertain the envoys from afar. Yes, father. Si Kongyao's face was filled with anger, this is too much. Indeed, Qin Hai's perfunctory and neglectful attitude was too obvious. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Qin Hai was indeed a muddle-headed ruler. Even if the two countries were about to go to war, he still had to show the proper etiquette. Yet, he had actually forgotten about the proper etiquette, which was a huge disgrace to the etiquette of a large country. Crown Prince Qin Xian walked forward and smiled respectfully, everyone, please come in. I have already arranged a state banquet. Thank you, Your Highness. Shang Qian and Si Kongyao nodded in unison. Qin Xian smiled and his eyes swept across Si Kongyao's face, chest and bottom. He said, this must be Tianji Sex Miss Si Kongyao. I have admired Mrs. name for a long time. Today, I finally have the honor to meet you. I am very happy. I heard that Miss Si Kongyao is well versed in the zither. I wonder if I will have the honor to listen to the music of heaven after the banquet? He did not look like a crown prince at all. He looked more like a playboy. Si Kongyao suppressed her boredom and said, Si Kongyao is exhausted from the long journey. I do not feel like playing the zither. My apologies, Your Highness. She actually rejected him in public. Qin Xian's face turned ugly. He turned around and smiled, it's fine, let's go to the side hall for the banquet. The luncheon was on the scale of a state banquet. There were 100 dishes in total, and it was extremely luxurious. However, Lin Tongtian was ridiculed, and Si Kongyao was taken advantage of, so they were not in the mood to eat. Instead, Lin Muyu and Lu Bai, the two heartless fellows, got to enjoy themselves. After the luncheon, Qin Xian arranged for everyone to stay in the palace. Lin Muyu's room was in an inconspicuous room but it was quiet. Dong dong, Lu Bai's voice came from outside the door, young hero, Zhuang Xiaoyu and Miss Si Kongyao want to go to the Imperial Garden to enjoy the scenery and relax. Won't you come along? No, I'm waiting for someone. You go ahead. Waiting for someone? Bai, you go ahead. It's safe to follow Miss Si Kongyao. All right then. 2 hours later, footsteps could be heard from the courtyard. A servant announced, the second prince, Qin Yu has arrived. As expected, he came. Lin Muyu did not open the door. She continued to drink her tea. Dong dong, Qin Yu's voice came from outside, young hero, are you not willing to see me? Lin Muyu smiled, if the second prince wants to come in, you can open the door yourself. This is the palace of the Celestial Empire. It's your home. Ha ha ha. Qin Yu laughed and pushed the door open. Behind him was a young man, who said, young hero, you're really smart. This is? Lin Muyu looked at the person behind Qin Yu. The young man cupped his hands and said, I'm Liao Yang, the nephew of Han Yuan, the leader of the Celestial Extinction Sect. I'm also the second prince's right-hand man. Lin Muyu's eyes lit up, Liao Yang? Please come in. It's not the first time we've met. Liao Yang was stunned. His eyes were full of killing intent. Qin Yu laughed and said, please sit, please sit. There's no need to be so hostile. Lin Muyu nodded. The second prince was too smart. Almost everything was under his control. After sitting down, Qin Yu said, where are you from, young hero? Your Highness, you can guess. With your ability, you should be able to guess. If I'm not mistaken, it should be in the west, right? Yes, Your Highness is wise. What's your surname? Your Highness, guess again. Lin Muyu's lips curled into a smile. Qin Yu smiled. Maybe, his surname is Qin. Lin Muyu frowned. She was afraid that Qin Yu's intelligence was far beyond her expectation. Qin Yu smiled. How do you know that Liao Yang is that person? The injury on his wrist. He was a little unnatural when he saluted just now. If I'm not mistaken, it's an injury caused by my mistake. Oh. Qin Yu smiled. Young hero, do you know that if you know too much, you'll get yourself killed? Lin Muyu smiled without saying anything. Why are you smiling, young hero? Lin Muyu chuckled. Your Highness must be guessing whether my surname is Lin or Feng, right? Ha ha ha, it's really fun to talk to a smart person. Qin Yu put the teacup on the table and said, yes, if your surname is neither Lin nor Feng, then I can only make you disappear from the celestial maximum continent today. No, you won't be willing to kill me. Lin Muyu was very confident. Why? Because only I can achieve your hegemony. Qin Yu was silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed heartily. He stood up and saluted. I'm Qin Yu. I pay my respects to His Highness King Qin of the Qin Empire. Liao Yang was stunned. He didn't understand what was going on. Chapter 776. Second Prince, you don't have to tease me. Please get up. Lin Muyu helped Qin Yu up, but her heart was cold. The Celestial Empire had such a powerful second prince. He was destined to be one of the enemies of the Qin Empire in the future, but not yet. How do you know I'm King Qin? It's very simple. Qin Yu stood up straight, and his eyes were burning. He said, I've also sent a few spies with good cultivation to the Shattered Realm across the West Sea. They learned that only King Qin isn't in the Qin Empire. Prince Xian Feng Jixing and Prince Zhong Qin Yen are in Lanyan City. Only King Qin hasn't been seen for more than a month. But there's a person in the Tianji Empire who can kill a demon king. Her age and appearance are exactly the same as the description of Lin Muyu. Who else could it be but King Qin? Lin Muyu's expression was calm. She smiled and said, Second Prince, your mind is as clear as dust. I admire you. Beside her, Liao Yang was dumbfounded. He said, You're Lin Muyu, King Qin of the Qin Empire? Yes. With a clang, Liao Yang had already pulled out her sword and stood in front of Qin Yu to protect him. She said, Second Prince, be careful. The war is imminent. Lin Muyu can only be our enemy. No, Lord Liao Yang, don't worry. Qin Yu pressed down Liao Yang's hand that was holding the sword. He smiled and said, Your Highness, King Qin, didn't come to the Celestial Empire to assassinate me. Lin Muyu smiled, cupped her fists, and said respectfully, King Qin of the Qin Empire of the Shattered Realm, Lin Muyu pays respect to Second Prince. I came to the Tianjua continent this time to meet the real master of the Celestial Empire. Oh. What makes you think I'm the master of the empire? The second prince narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, You should know that father is still on the throne. If you show any disrespect, even the king of Qin will be sentenced to death for the crime of disrespect. Lin Muyu sat down again and said, Your emperor's complexion is gloomy. It's obvious that he's seriously ill. Even the elixirs can't save him. The first prince is inexperienced and can't achieve anything great. As for the second prince, he keeps followers and makes friends with heroes. The future ruler of the empire can only be you. There won't be a second person. Lin Muyu. Qin Yu shouted, Don't force me to kill you for slandering my father and brother. Lin Muyu smiled. There are no outsiders here. Why does the second prince have to threaten me? Ha ha ha, Qin Yu's anger turned into laughter. He said, as expected of the famous General Lin Muyu of the Shattered Realm. You're so calm even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you. It's admirable. I wonder why the King of Qin has come to see me this time. the second prince should have guessed it already. However, it's better for me to say it clearly. Lin Muyu stretched his arms. Waves of divine power slowly enshrouded the surroundings. He said slowly, although your empire has a strong army, the number of sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, sacred martial venerables, and sacred martial warriors is far inferior to the Tianji Empire. Moreover, I've seen the military camps of your empire along the way. They're much inferior to the Tianji Empire in terms of drills and battle formations. Not to mention the tiger leopard cavalry and other beast cavalry of the Tianji Empire, I'm afraid your empire can't even defend against the regular cavalry of the Tianji Empire. Qin Yu calmly held the teacup and took a sip. However, the teacup lid knocked against the quilt twice. It was obvious that he wasn't as calm as he looked. Lin Muyu's words were like swords stabbing at the crux of the problem. What he said was also the biggest predicament the entire Celestial Empire was facing. Lin Muyu saw that his words were working, so he continued, moreover, I've seen the map of the continent. Although the Celestial Empire has a vast territory, more than 30% of its land is desert, neighboring areas, and wastelands. It's impossible to cultivate. The iron ore, logging, and other resources are also less than 80% of the Tianji Empire's. However, such resources are needed to support an army of 1.5 million soldiers. The taxes will definitely be higher than the Tianji Empire's. The common people will suffer unspeakably, which will easily lead to population loss. A large number of people will leave the Celestial Empire for the Tianji Empire. In this way, the strength of the empire will be greatly damaged. Beads of sweat began to appear on Qin Yu's forehead. Liao Yang was furious. He said, You're not the Emperor of Qin. You're just a spy sent by the Tianji Empire. Otherwise, how could you know the ins and outs of the Celestial Empire so well? Quickly surrender and save me the trouble. Wait, Liao Yang. Qin Yu raised his arm to stop Liao Yang from making a move. He exhaled and said, He's not a spy. It's just that he knows too much about governing a country. So much so that he can infer the pros and cons of the situation from the surface. Lin Muyu smiled and said, Therefore, what the Celestial Empire needs at the moment is land. A large amount of fertile land needs to be cultivated and used to raise soldiers. It also needs a large amount of iron ore to forge weapons and armor. And, the Tianji Empire has all of these. Qin Yu squinted his eyes and smiled. He said, Yes. But Emperor of Qin, don't forget that the Shattered Cauldron Realm has all of these as well. I heard that the land in the Shattered Cauldron Realm is very fertile, and the trade is also very developed. Gold, silver, and iron ore mines can be found in the mountains of various provinces. That's right. A beam of light shot out from Lin Muyu's eyes. She smiled and said, But if someone wants to invade the land of the Shattered Cauldron Realm, the millions of soldiers of the Qin Empire will fight to the death. I, Lin Muyu, will also join the war with all my strength. Even if I lose, I won't feel ashamed. But Second Prince, have you ever thought that there are two countries between your empire and the Shattered Cauldron Realm? One is the Tianji Empire, and the other is the Blackstone Empire. I'm afraid that you won't be able to touch the Shattered Cauldron Realm even if you want to. My empire can form an alliance with the Tianji Empire. Bai Ming Yuan hides his strength and bides his time. He is eyeing your empire covetously. Do you think he will give you a piece of fat meat to fatten you up before attacking them? Qin Yu took a deep breath and smiled with a burning gaze. He said, Could it be that the Emperor of Qin came all the way to Scorching Cold City just to tell me this? No. Lin Muyu smiled and said, I have a few more words. Go ahead. If the second prince doesn't want to cooperate with me, the Tianji Empire will naturally cooperate with me. If the second prince wants to watch the Shattered Cauldron Realm be destroyed, then just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. But once the war starts, I will find a chance to bow down to Bai Ming Yuan, and then recommend myself to be the vanguard to attack the Celestial Empire. Please believe that I will do what I say. Qin Yu was almost soaked in sweat. He raised his eyebrows and said, Is the Emperor of Qin threatening me? Yes. If the second prince is willing to cooperate with me, the Qin Empire will naturally do its best to resist the attack of the Tianji Empire. Once they are defeated, we will attack from the east and the west. I, Lin Muyu, can protect the territorial integrity of the Qin Empire, and your highness can seize the fertile land of the Tianji Empire and make great contributions. Why not? Qin Yu put down the teacup slowly, and his gaze gradually became determined. He said, then, it's settled. Your highness, please take out the seal. Liao Yang, ask someone to bring a paper book. Yes, your highness. Liao Yang turned around and left. Soon, he came back with a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Qin Yu picked up the brush, with sweat on his face. He said with a faint smile, talking with the Emperor of Qin is no different from fighting on the battlefield. I hope our two empires won't fight each other in the future. Lin Muyu smiled and took out the seal of the Emperor of Qin from the Cosmos sack. Qin Yu began to write the covenant by himself, and Lin Muyu corrected him on the side. The content of the covenant was very simple. Once the Tianji Empire started the war, the Celestial Empire must deploy all the main armies to the border of the Tianji Empire and wait for an opportunity to put pressure on the Tianji Empire. In addition, the Qin Empire must not use any weapons against the Celestial Empire within 10 years. This was not only a covenant, but also a peace treaty. When the two seals fell on the covenant, Lin Muyu and Qin Yu both smiled. Come, come, come. Let's have some tea. Lin Muyu became extremely polite. Qin Yu laughed heartily and sat opposite Lin Muyu on the ground. He had the demeanor of an ancient person. Your Highness, there's still one thing I don't understand. Please say it, Your Highness. Although the covenant has been made, Your Highness is still the second prince and not the emperor of the Celestial Empire. If the Tianji Empire starts the war, and your father insists on helping the Tianji Empire to attack the shattered world, what will Your Highness do? The covenant has been made, and I will definitely carry it out. Qin Yu took a deep breath and added, even if I have to bleed. Lin Muyu immediately felt relieved. She smiled and said, come, come, let's continue drinking tea. Ha ha ha, please, Your Highness. Obviously, Qin Yu was a scheming and ambitious person. Although such a person was very frightening, Lin Muyu admired Qin Yu very much. It was precisely because of his desire for power and strength that Qin Yu would definitely make it happen. Even if he had to resort to unscrupulous means. Emperor Qin Hai was muddle-headed, and it was only a matter of time before Qin Yu replaced him. If Qin Yu wasn't willing to commit patricide, then he might only be a second prince for the rest of his life, or perhaps only the emperor of the Heavenly Zhu Empire. If he wanted to become the ruler of the Celestial Pole continent, he had to take this step. Lin Muyu firmly believed in this. All those who were greedy for power were the same. It was not until late at night that Lu Bai, Si Kongyao, Shang Qian, and the others finally returned. Clearly, they had a great time and their faces were filled with joy. Young hero, it's such a pity that you didn't go. Lu Bai's face was full of excitement. There are lanterns in the city today, and there are even naked dancers dancing. Lin Muyu looked stunned. Why didn't you ask me to go with you? You said you wouldn't go, so I did. It's all your fault for not being firm enough. Lu Bai felt wronged. Si Kongyao smiled and said, then what should we do next? Are we going to play in scorching cold city for a few more days? No, let's set off tomorrow. We'll go to the Blackstone Empire. I want to see what the Blackstone Empire looks like. Okay. Zhuang Xiaoyu said, we've just sent people to escort the coffin of little Prince Bai Mingjia back to Tianji City. We can travel to the Blackstone Empire, but the people of the Blackstone Empire are tough, so we must be more careful. Got it. Si Kongyao was a little impatient, but her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Muyu with a smile. Do you want to eat supper? It's my treat. Okay. Zhuang Xiaoyu was silent, and he felt really upset. He couldn't help but raise his head to look at Shang Qian, but saw that Shang Qian was also looking at Lin Muyu, and there was actually some loneliness in her eyes. Suddenly, Zhuang Xiaoyu felt even worse. Chapter 777. The next day, they woke up early, packed their luggage and left scorching Han City. As expected, the Celestial Empire's Emperor Qinhai and Crown Prince Qin Qian completely ignored Si Kongyao, Lin Tongtian and the rest. But when they left scorching Han City, a group of cavalrymen chased after them and shouted, "Everyone, please wait! Everyone, please wait!" Everyone stopped their horses. The cavalrymen moved aside. Under the canopy, the second prince, Qin Yu, came to send them off personally. He cupped his hands and smiled. Lord Lin Tongtian and Miss Si Kongyao left in such a hurry. The Celestial Empire did not treat you well, please forgive us. Lin Tongtian smiled, Your Highness, you are too kind. Men, bring me my humble greetings. A few guards walked forward with trays in their hands. The trays were filled with dazzling gold ingots, as well as some relatively exquisite cloths. Your Highness, this is a small token of my appreciation, please accept it. Take it as my apology and compensation on behalf of the Celestial Empire. This gold is for your travel expenses, please do not reject it. Lin Tongtian, Si Kongyao, Shang Qian, and the rest were not people who lacked money, so they naturally did not need these. Instead, it was Lin Muyu who said cheerfully, travel expenses? That's good. Bai, go and accept the second prince's gift. Yes. Lu Bai was overjoyed at the sight of money. He took the heavy gold ingots and stuffed them into the luggage on the horse. Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said, Your Highness, thank you for your kind intentions. Qin Yu smiled, take care, young hero. Before we part, Qin Yu has something to tell you. Please speak. Qin Yu was an elegant man. He smiled and recited a poem, the mountain is high and the river is long. The light snow has just stopped, and the rain is endless. Warm wine and chat in the pavilion, who cares about the snow? Thank you, Your Highness. Lin Muyu nodded and repeated the poem in her heart, but she could not understand what Qin Yu meant. Whatever, let him be. They left Scorching Han City and headed to the Blackstone Empire. However, Scorching Han City was more than 3,000 miles away from the Blackstone Empire's capital, Qianshan City. It would take half a month even if they rode at full speed. 5 days later, Lin Tongtian received a summon from Tianji City and led the dragon riders back to Tianji City to report. 9 days later, everyone left the territory of the Heavenly Ju Empire and entered one of the 3 great provinces of the Darkstone Empire, the Red Rock Province. As soon as they entered the Red Rock Province, it caused them to have an oppressive feeling. The Darkstone Empire had a small amount of land but a large amount of people, and the area of the 3 great provinces added together wasn't even as large as the Sky Dawn Empire's West Mountain Province, causing the pressure on the lives of its people to be extremely great. They rode in the forest. It was March, and flowers were in full bloom. In the forest, the butterflies danced and the fragrance wafted. It was an indescribable feeling that made people feel relaxed and happy. Si Kongyao and Shang Qian, the 2 girls, immediately became as happy as fish swimming into the sea. They spurred their horses to gallop madly for a while, dismounted to admire the flowers, and then spurred their horses forward again. Yao, Miss Shang Qian, take care. Zhuang Xiaoyu warned. The people of the Darkstone Empire are ferocious, and bandits run amok. Walk slowly, don't encounter bandits or wandering mercenaries. These people kill without batting an eyelid. Si Kongyao chuckled from afar, Yo, when did our great master Sita become as timid as a mouse? Would you care about mere mountain bandits? This, Zhuang Xiaoyu was a little embarrassed. As Si Kongyao said, he was scared to death by the demon emperor, assassins, and other strong enemies in the forest of no return. Now, he was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bough. The confidence and calmness he had built up in the past had long disappeared. Anyway, it's always good to be careful. Zhuang Xiaoyu said. Lin Muyu nodded, well, it's better to be careful. Take care. At the side, Lu Bai took a deep breath and broke away from the cultivation of the dragon forging bone remnant scroll. He said, "Young hero, I feel a warm sensation in my chi si. There's a power that's about to come out. It seems that the demon spirit stone that young hero refined last night has taken effect." "What worked?" "You just need to guide the force in your chi and spit it out." "Okay." Lu Bai yelled in a low voice. A mass of true energy appeared in his palm, but he couldn't spit it out. He couldn't help but scream as if he was suffocating to death. Lin Muyu gathered her divine power in her eyes. She raised her fingers and used her supreme divine power to strike 3 times on Lu Bai's back. All of them landed on the important acupoints. The supreme divine power miraculously dissolved the blockage. Suddenly, a vigorous force was spat out from Lu Bai's arm to his palm. Swish swish swish. It was a white airflow. Battle aura. In just one short month, Lu Bai had actually stepped into the heaven realm from a rookie. It had been hard on him. This kid's talent could be said to be not bad. Of course, the main credit was due to the dragon forging bone remnant scroll and the demon spirit stone's catalysis. Otherwise, no matter how talented he was, it would be impossible for him to advance at such a godly speed. Ha ha ha. Lu Bai was overjoyed and said, "It's battle aura, it's battle aura. Great, I'm even closer to becoming a sacred warrior. Ha ha ha, this is great." In the distance, Zhuang Xiaoyu frowned. Tisk, he wants to become a sacred warrior with this level of cultivation. He really doesn't know what he's talking about. Shi Tianming, who was at the side, laughed and said, "Young hero, Lu Bai is just a swindler. Why did you spend so much effort on him? Do you really want to nurture Lu Bai into a sacred warrior? Is there anything wrong with that?" Lin Muyu smiled and said, "I believe that Bu Yi will become stronger day by day and make those who look down on him look at him in a different light." Lu Bai was silent. "What's the matter?" Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai's shoulders trembled slightly. He held the reins with both hands and looked at the grass under the horse's hooves. He said in a low voice, "Young hero, everyone looks down on me. You are so strong, why do you take care of me so much? I have a purpose." Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "Just cultivate well. I will leave this continent sooner or later. At that time, I want you to inherit my will and establish a sect on this continent." "Establish a sect?" Lu Bai was stunned and said, "Impossible, absolutely impossible. Although there are many sects on the continent, to establish a sect, one must at least have the cultivation of a sacred warrior. Otherwise, one will only become a laughing stock. Young hero, you should find someone else. I, Lu Bai, am really not cut out for that. You know that." "No, I know that you will become stronger." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Just take it as doing it for those who look down on you. Just take it as doing it so that you don't have to rely on others and be bullied. Even if the whole world doesn't believe in you, I believe in you." Lu Bai shuddered. Establishing a sect was too difficult for him. However, with an unfathomable backing like Lin Muyu, Lu Bai finally gathered his confidence and said, "I will. Cultivate well and don't let your imagination run wild." "Okay." Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Si Kongyao, who was galloping through the flowers and grass in the distance. She couldn't help but smile. To establish a sect, it was naturally impossible to rely on Lu Bai alone. He needed the help of another person, and that person was right in front of him. The key was how to make her help him willingly. This was a big problem. After all, her identity was too special. The group of people wandered in the wilderness, stopping from time to time. When it was close to evening, Shi Tianming unfurled the map and carefully studied it. He said to Lin Muyu, "Young hero, we have 2 paths. One is to take the official road on the left and go in the direction of Red Rock City. Red Rock City is the capital of the province and can be considered prosperous. The other path is to continue forward. However, the Blackstone Empire calls it a forbidden area. Forbidden area again? Is there a demon spirit? No, it's a mercenary. Shi Tianming squinted his eyes and smiled. The Blackstone Empire is famous for two things. One is the women of the Blackstone Empire, who are passionate and full of tricks. The other is the mercenaries of the Blackstone Empire, who are cruel and ruthless. They have a large number of people, and even the local government is in awe of them. It is said that there are over 300 mercenary groups in the 3 provinces of the Blackstone Empire. The large mercenary groups can easily have tens of thousands of people. The top 3 mercenary groups have more than 50,000 people. They are entrenched in the mountains or in the small cities they occupy. Doesn't the emperor care about it? Lin Muyu asked. Care? Shi Tianming smiled. Of course they care. The Blackstone Empire is the weakest among the 3 empires in the celestial pole continent, and China is the weakest. This is because Emperor Shi Yuan doesn't care about the large mercenary groups, causing the common people to be unable to make a living and have no interest in farming. Everyone learns martial arts and hunts. However, once there is a war, everyone becomes a soldier. Shi Yuan also uses this kind of herding method to rule the country. As a result, although the Blackstone Empire is weak, it can still stand tall in the celestial pole continent. At this time, Si Kongyao also rode her horse over. She continued Shi Tianming's words and smiled. There is a saying that the unreasonable are afraid of the stupid, and the stupid are afraid of the reckless. The Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire are both unreasonable, but they are afraid of the reckless Blackstone Empire. Young Master Shi, tell me, which mercenary group's territory is further ahead? Shi Tianming said, the strongest of the 3 great mercenary groups is the Pishio mercenary group. They occupy 3 counties and have gathered over 70,000 mercenaries. Even the provincial army is very wary of them. I think we should take a detour. We can't afford to offend the people from the Pishio mercenary group. Why can't we afford to offend them? Si Kongyao puffed out her chest angrily and looked at Lin Muyu with a smile, saying, do you have the guts to take a walk in the territory of the Pishio mercenary group? Doesn't matter. Lin Muyu spread out her hands. My life is worthless. I'm not afraid of those who don't want to live. Hee, all right. Then let's keep walking forward and hunt some wild animals along the way. We haven't even gotten dinner yet. After walking for a short distance, they killed a few wild rabbits. There were quite a few divine-level experts in this group, so food would definitely not be a problem. Moreover, after so many days had passed, those assassins still hadn't appeared. They must have already given up. Therefore, everyone's vigilance had been lowered quite a bit. At night, they set up camp in the forest. The 2 beauties, Si Kongyao and Shang Qian, seemed to have also started to enjoy this kind of leisurely life. Chapter 778. The bright moon hung high in the sky, and the whole forest was illuminated by its silver light. Stellar arts and 7 luminaries' mysterious energy are too profound. I'm afraid you won't be able to learn them. Lin Muyu looked at the dancing flames. Stellar arts was indeed very difficult to learn. Situsen could only learn the surface with his talent, and it was almost impossible for Lu Bai to learn it. As for 7 luminaries' mysterious energy, it was the pride of the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Lin Muyu would not teach it to others. Lu Bai was a little disappointed, then. What else can you teach me? Although you taught me the dragon forging bone remnant scroll, it is after all only a mental cultivation method. I don't even know a single combat skill. Look, Miss Si Kongyao is well versed in ice mystic arts, young Master Zhuang knows wind god absolute. They all have their own strengths, but I don't know anything. Lin Muyu pondered, I also know a fist technique called Fiery Soul Fist. I learned it from Zhang Wei. Do you want to learn it? Who is Zhang Wei? An idiot. Do you want to learn it? No, fist technique can only be used for close combat. It's not good. Alright, I also have a set of Imperial Sword technique, but I'm afraid it will be very difficult to learn. Imperial Sword technique? Lu Bai's eyes lit up. I've seen it before. You used it before. It's a very beautiful move. The first step to learning Imperial sword technique is to comprehend the heart of the sword and communicate with the weapon. Otherwise, there's no way to talk about sword technique. I'll teach you the heart of the sword first. Whether you can learn it or not depends on your luck. Yes. Lu Bai nodded repeatedly. At this time, Si Kongyao, who was lying on the blanket, opened her eyes and smiled. If Lu Bai can't learn it, you can teach me. Lu Bai hurriedly said, that won't do. Young master said you can only teach it to me. Don't be so stingy. Lin Muyu pondered for a moment and said with a smile, it's fine to pass it to eldest young Miss Sikong, but eldest young Miss must agree to a condition of mine. Okay, go ahead. I won't stay here for too long. If you learn the sword control technique in the end and Lu Bai doesn't, you have to help me teach Bai until he completely masters it. Is that okay? Well. Si Kongyao thought about it. The attraction of the sword control technique was too great. Her martial arts were the best of many schools, so how could she miss out on Lin Muyu's unique skill? She nodded and said, okay, I promise you. Lin Muyu snickered. Si Kongyao probably didn't know that she was falling into the trap that she had set, step by step. Therefore, after imparting the mental cultivation method and the cultivation method of the sword commanding technique to the two, Lin Muyu went into the tent to sleep. Sleeping was not real, and finding Tang Xiaoxi through the telepathy was real. Swoosh! An invisible divine power pierced through the sky and went straight to the other side of the ocean. There were very few people in the shattered tripod realm with strong auras, and Tang Xiaoxi was one of them. It was easy to find her, but it was a little difficult because Tang Xiaoxi was already in Lanyan City, and she was sleeping in her room next to Qin Yan's bedroom in Zhe Tian Palace. When a beam of golden light entered the room, Tang Xiaoxi knew who had come. She excitedly used her divine power. When the two divine powers merged together, she could already see the figure of Lin Muyu in Yi Hai. Mu. Tang Xiaoxi walked over with a smile and said, it seems that your aura has strengthened again. Yes. Lin Muyu said, Xiaoxi, how is the matter in the shattered tripod realm? How is the war between us and the devil race? The devil race has been completely defeated. Wei Chou led the Longdan army camp and defeated the main force of the devil race with magic crystal crossbows. They lost more than half of their last 100,000 cavalrymen. Now, Qian Feng has escorted the Devil King and the others out of the 8 wastelands. They are in the savage wilderness in the north, and they will not come back for 3 to 5 years. Well, that's good. What about you? What news did you bring? I met the second prince of the Celestial Empire, Qin Yu. He is a very shrewd person. I have already made an agreement with him. As long as the Tianji Empire launches an attack, he must restrain the Tianji Empire from the rear, so that they will be attacked from both the front and the back. Is Qin Yu reliable? No, but we have no other choice. This is the best method. I have now entered the territory of the Blackstone Empire, and I want to see if there is any feasible plan here. Xiaoxi, how is the construction of the ship? A few have been launched, but there seems to be a problem with the defense. Lord Qin Xiling is improving it, but it will take some time. Well. Lin Muyu muttered, oh right, is there any movement from the Yihe nation? No, there is no news from Long Qianlin and Ding Shi. They are lying dormant on the dragon-shaped island and have not taken any action. Qin Yi is a cautious person. I'm afraid that he will not take action unless there is a suitable opportunity. Also, how is the preparation of the Empire's army? Don't worry. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. General Feng and Aunt Lien have already made arrangements. They have transferred troops from various provinces to the 3 provinces in the east to garrison. The total number of troops is over 1 million, and the total number of magic crystal cannons is over 50,000. There is a fort every 5 kilometers on the east coast. It will not be easy for the celestial pole continent's warships to land. That's good. Lin Muyu said again, oh right, Xiaoxi, I have some new discoveries here. There is a stone called the Demon Heart Stone in the Celestial Pole continent. The essence of the Demon Heart Stone is extracted and tempered in the arrowheads. When the arrowheads are shot into a person's body, the essence of the Demon Heart Stone will fuse with the blood, and then the God Realm experts will temporarily lose their divine power. I will find some Demon Heart Stones as soon as possible and bring them back. Well, you have to be careful. Oh right, is there any news about the Immortal Realm and Shaoyin? Not yet, but I believe that Shaoyin must be working hard. Well, the telekinesis communication consumes too much divine power. You should rest quickly. Okay. Lin Muyu cut off the telekinesis, and immediately a strong feeling of emptiness returned to his body. The short conversation of a few minutes had actually consumed nearly half of his divine power. It seemed that the telekinesis communication was too far away from Lanyan City. He fell into a deep sleep. Outside the tent, Si Kongyao was sitting upright beside the bonfire, fine wind blades slowly dancing around her body. She was in the middle of comprehending the heart of the sword, and it seemed that she had already achieved some results. What a smart and intelligent girl. In terms of innate talent, she probably flung Lu Bai a few 100 million times over. Late at night, Lu Bai suddenly sat up in the tent. His forehead was full of cold sweat, and his stomach was tumbling. He was going to have diarrhea. Damn it, the rabbit meat is really not that delicious. I shouldn't drink the spring water after eating it. He quickly flipped over and got up, only to discover that Siko Miao was still meditating and cultivating her sword heart, while Zhuang Xiaoyu, Chen Heng, Shang Qian and the others were all in deep sleep. He didn't say anything and went straight to the distant thicket, hiding in the dense thicket in a flash. Plucking off 2 leaves, he squatted down and undressed. After a round of pleasurable stripping, he almost cried out. After he was done, Lu Bai looked at the leaf in his hand and could not help but groan inwardly. It was actually the leaf of the iron needle tree. The leaf was covered with thin thorns. If he really used this, his chrysanthemum would probably be ruined. When he was looking around, a hand suddenly handed him a piece of toilet paper. Are you looking for this? Thank you. Lu Bai took the toilet paper and was about to wipe it. Suddenly, he was scared out of his wits. Who is it? Come out. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, the surrounding bushes shook, and more than 10 people dressed in black surrounded Lu Bai. We are the 12 guardian deities of the Pishio mercenary group. Brat, you actually did not get our permission and pulled out so many filthy things in the territory of the Pishio mercenary group. You are simply courting death. Come with us. Presumptuous. Lu Bai pulled up his pants and opened his hand to summon his Do Chi. Using his bare hand to block the white blade, his palm heavily hit the chest of a mercenary. This brat is an expert. Chop him to death. The blade in the air was biting cold. How could Lu Bai resist it? He hurriedly squatted down on the ground again. Spare me, hero. I did not intentionally pull it here. Tie him up. A long-bearded mercenary said in an old voice. Truly unsightly. Cover his mouth. Let's go. There is still fire in the distance. Bring this group of reckless things back. Yes. Dozens of figures flew like lightning towards the camp. In the tent, Lin Muyu was still sleeping soundly. The strength of this group of mercenaries was too weak for him. They were so weak that he could ignore them. In fact, even if this group of mercenaries approached him, they would not be able to hurt him. Even the divine power astral wall around Lin Muyu was not something they could break. However, Si Kongyao, who had not fallen asleep, suddenly opened her eyes. Her bright eyes looked at the black-clothed people in the distance. Who are you people? What is the meaning of this? Lu Bai, why are you tied up? Lu Bai gritted his teeth. Eldest miss, save me. I have not cleaned up my mess yet. What nonsense are you talking about? Si Kongyao frowned. Who are you people? Release him immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Yo. A mercenary holding a broadsword laughed. This girl is so beautiful and has such a bad temper. Interesting. Why don't we capture her and make her the wife of the first master? Yes, yes, yes. If the first master is happy, he might even give us a few maids. Go, take her down. Si Kongyao had never been humiliated like this. What wife of the first master? No one dared to speak to her like this since she was a child. Therefore, she used her killing move. In a flash, she appeared in front of the mercenary holding the broadsword. She raised her hand and slapped him. The divine power of frost instantly froze the mercenary's divine power into a block of ice. When he fell to the ground, he was already a pile of broken ice. God, she killed someone. The rest of the mercenaries were dumbfounded. They all brandished their swords and sabers and charged forward. Get out of my way. Si Kongyao swung her palm. A streak of divine power of frost shot out in an arc. The group of mercenaries was sent flying. If they were not dead, they were injured. One by one, they fell to the ground and wailed. Lu Bai suddenly gritted his teeth. He used his chi to break the rope and quickly returned to Si Kongyao's side. Eldest miss, they are the people of the Pai Xiu mercenary group. When Si Kongyao looked up again, she saw the remaining group of mercenaries had already thrown away their helmets and armor and fled in panic. Their voices came from the wind. If you have the guts, just you wait. The Pai Xiu mercenary group will take revenge. Chapter 779. Are you alright? Si Kongyao glanced at Lu Bai and asked with concern. Lu Bai's body trembled as he thought of an extremely serious problem. He hadn't even wiped his butt. Would Si Kongyao smell it? What if she smelled it? Would she kill him in a fit of rage? Lu Bai was already dripping with cold sweat as he rubbed his legs together to hide his embarrassment. His face was covered in sweat, but he didn't know how to respond to Si Kongyao's words. What's wrong? The curtain of the nearby tent was lifted and Lin Muyu, who had relatively weak divine power, walked out. She immediately frowned. What's that smell? Lu Bai felt extremely guilty as he said, a group of mercenaries came just now, but they've already been driven away by Miss Sikong. Mercenaries? Yes, they claim to be from the Pishio mercenary group. There are dozens of them, and they'll probably bring more people here soon. Let's run, young hero, or else we'll lose our lives. Lu Bai's words were extremely urgent and smooth. When it came to escaping, his martial arts were at least at the level of a sacred martial warrior. However, Zhuang Xiaoyu sneered. What a joke. We have 3 Saint Martial Venerables and 1 Saint Martial King in our group. If we were to escape, then the Saint Martial Kings would be nothing but a joke in this continent. These mercenaries are just relying on their numbers. What do we have to be afraid of? What's more, Chen Hang's injuries haven't completely healed yet, so it's not good for him to move at full speed. Uncle Chen Hang, what do you think? Chen Hang was only the head of the guards, so he was a bit embarrassed when Zhuang Xiaoyu called him like this. He said, we'll listen to young Master Zhuang's arrangements, but I heard that the leader of the Pishio mercenary group is a person called Lu Feng. He has the cultivation of a sacred martial king, and is greedy and lustful. He's committed all sorts of crimes and is known as one of the evil gods of the Blackstone Empire. However, he is confident in his martial arts and has a group of rascals supporting him, so the Pishio mercenary group is notorious in this area. No one dares to provoke them. A Saint Martial King? Si Kongyao frowned and said, it's hard to imagine why a Saint Martial King would be willing to be the leader of a mere mercenary group. Chen Heng smiled faintly. Actually, I've only heard rumors. It's said that Lu Feng used to be one of the 3 deputy commanders of the Blackstone Empire, but later committed a crime. The emperor of the Blackstone Empire, Shi Yuan, once sent Lu Feng to escort the 7th princess to marry the Prairie Burning Province's governor. When Lu Feng saw that the 7th princess was beautiful, he defiled her. Because of this, the emperor, in his anger, ordered Lu Feng to be executed. However, Lu Feng escaped. Afterwards, he gathered a group of desperados and established the Pishio mercenary group. They went around robbing houses and proclaimed themselves king in this area. Shi Yuan sent elite troops to encircle and annihilate them many times, but because of the dangerous terrain, they were unable to achieve complete victory. Chen Heng paused and smiled. About 5 miles north of us is a steep mountain range called the Devil's Palm Peaks. Every mountain peak is like a soaring devil's palm. They have different shapes and are very treacherous, making it difficult for an army to advance. The headquarters of the Pishio mercenary group is set up in the Devil's Palm Peaks. The Devil's Palm Peaks have a very rich reserve of demon core stones. For so many years, the Pishio mercenary group has been secretly mining demon core stones, crushing them into powder and selling them to the armies of the 3 empires for money. This is also the reason why this mercenary group is so powerful. Hearing this, Lin Muyu's heart was moved, but she held back and didn't say anything. On the other hand, Si Kongyao puffed out her chest proudly and smiled. What's there to be afraid of a mere Saint Martial King? Uncle Chen Heng is also a Saint Martial King, we don't have to be afraid of them at all. Let's just wait for them here. I want to see how powerful that Lu Feng who defiled the princess is. Shang Qian couldn't help but laugh. Yao, you just love to cause trouble. Since you are so aggressive, you might as well kill your way to the Devil's Palm Peaks to find Lu Feng. Oh, Sister Shang Qian reminded me. Si Kongyao said excitedly and in high spirits, yes, we're going to go to the Devil's Palm Peaks ourselves. We're going to find this LV Feng preemptively and ask him why he sent people to beat up Lu Bai for no reason. Only in this way can we demonstrate the imposing manner and courage of our Tianji Empire's cultivators, right? Hey, where is Lu Bai? I don't know, he just took a piece of cloth and left in a hurry, Shi Tianming said respectfully. After all, his cultivation was still low, so he said with a guilty conscience, the Devil's Palm Peaks is the headquarters of the Pishio mercenary group. If we go there, won't it be the same as courting death? Si Kongyao glanced at him and said, there is no place in the world that a brave person can't go. If young Master Shi is afraid, you can just stay here and wait for us to come back. However, I have heard from Sister Shang Qian that she hates those who drop the ball at the last minute and are as timid as a mouse. Shi Tianming clenched his fists, and his battle energy revolved. Let's go, who said we won't go? Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled, waved the purple gold fan in his hand lightly, and said, so are we really going? Young hero, what do you think, should we go or not? In the Forest of No Return, Lin Muyu easily killed the demon Venerable and was able to fight against the demon Emperor Nusslayer. This was already the tip of the iceberg of his strength and naturally won the respect of Zhuang Xiaoyu and the other cultivators. Moreover, Lin Muyu's skill and ease made his cultivation seem unfathomable, so Zhuang Xiaoyu had an indescribable respect for him. Lin Muyu was calculating the demon heart stone in the Devil's Palm Peaks and happily nodded. Since Miss Sikone wants to go, then let's go. Even if it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, we have the confidence to escape unscathed. Yes, then it's decided. Si Kongyao seemed to be very excited. She looked at the dawn in the east and said, it's almost daybreak, let's set off now. Leave the horses here and climb the mountain on foot. Uncle Chen Heng, are your injuries all right? Chen Heng laughed heartily and said with the rock-collapsing spear in his hand, these minor injuries are no longer a problem. Don't worry, Miss Sikone. All right, then let's go. Let's have a taste of the legendary LV Feng's abilities. The group of people left the camp like lightning and rushed straight to the mountains in the north. 20 minutes later, they were at the foot of the Devil's Palm Peaks. When they looked up, they could see giant peaks rising into the sky. The rocks at the peak were intricate and complicated, like the fingers of a giant. No wonder it was called the Devil's Palm Peaks. There were no Pishio mercenaries guarding the foot of the mountain because there was no path. If they wanted to enter the mountain, they would have to climb the hard-to-surmount rocky mountains. Lin Muyu looked up at the terrain and finally understood why the Emperor of the Blackstone Empire didn't destroy the Pishio mercenaries. The steepest part of the mountain path was already at a 90-degree angle. Not to mention the fact that warhorses couldn't pass, even elite soldiers wouldn't be able to climb over. Moreover, as long as there were people guarding the mountain peak with bows and arrows, it could be said that one man could hold the pass against 10,000 enemies. However, the Devil's Palm Peaks couldn't do anything to Lin Muyu and the others. Gods could ride on the clouds and had long disregarded the topography of the earth. At this time, Si Kongyao's beautiful body had already risen up slowly. Holding a thin sword, she hugged Shangqian's waist and flew up together with her. She smiled and said, "I'll bring big sister Shangqian away, you guys do as you see fit." Lin Muyu naturally brought Lu Bai, but Zhuang Xiaoyu was arrogant and didn't even look at Shi Tianming. Shi Tianming could only ask Chen Hang for help. In any case, Shi Tianming was the son of the Minister of War, Shi Ran. Chen Hang couldn't help but respect him. The group ascended, and just as they approached the mountain peak, the sound of springs suddenly rang out. So, Lin Muyu flew at the front, and her eyes were like torches. She raised one hand and grabbed a section of a steel sword. It was a steel arrow that was as thick as a finger. This was a type of crossbow used by the army. "Be careful." Si Kongyao shouted a warning. The sharp sword in her hand spun rapidly, blocking all 3 steel arrows with a dang 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 sound. Zhuang Xiaoyu was as light as a flying bird, and he quickly landed on the mountain peak. In front of him were a dozen mercenaries operating the crossbow, and each of them had a shocked expression. "You guys are courting death." Zhuang Xiaoyu swept his purple gold fan, and a strong wind blew. "Wait a minute," Lin Muyu hurriedly said. But it was too late. The bodies of the dozen mercenaries, along with the crossbow, were crushed into pieces by Zhuang Xiaoyu's wind divine power. Only a bloodstain and the remains of the crossbow were left on the mountain peak, and the rest was just a bare piece of land. "Young hero, what did you say?" Zhuang Xiaoyu looked back and asked. Lin Muyu sighed, "Forget it, so be it. I originally thought that since we were here to meet LV Feng, we should be polite before resorting to force. I didn't expect young Master Zhuang to act so quickly and directly kill this group of mercenaries. With their deaths, I'm afraid that all the Pishio mercenaries in the demonic Palm Peaks will be alarmed. So be it, they're just mere mercenaries." Zhuang Xiaoyu glanced at the huge canyon surrounded by the demonic Palm Peaks, and said, "The Blackstone Empire's military strength is so weak, and they can't do anything to a mercenary group like this. If it was our Tianji Empire, I'm afraid that half of the Tianji Dragon Riders would be enough to turn these so-called 3 big mercenary groups into ashes." Lin Muyu did not doubt Zhuang Xiaoyu's words. The Tianji Dragon Riders were indeed very strong, and they were decisive in killing. If these mercenaries had occupied the territory of the Tianji Empire, they would probably end up like Zhuang Xiaoyu said. However, Zhuang Xiaoyu directly killed people in the territory of another empire, which was a bit like bullying the weak. Ever since coming to the celestial pole continent, Lin Muyu had also killed people, but only the strong ones. She only needed to use the pressure of the gods to make them fear and submit to her, so there was no need to kill all of them. Perhaps, in the heart of Zhuang Xiaoyu, the son of the prime minister, there was a concept that had long been engraved into his bones: human life was like grass. Si Kongyao landed lightly on a rock at the peak of the mountain. She frowned as she looked at the blood that was swirling in the wind, but did not say much. "Let's go, we'll fly directly to their headquarters." Let's go." "Be careful, there might be other things," Chen Hang said cautiously. Everyone slowly flew into the canyon. In the depths of the canyon, there were houses connected together, pavilions, terraces, and waterside pavilions. It was like a paradise. LV Feng, the king of this world, really lived like a local emperor. Chapter 780. The mountain wind was so strong that they couldn't even open their eyes. Their ears were filled with the howling of the wind. Lin Muyu circulated her divine power. Her eyes shone with a faint golden light, allowing her to see everything in the valley clearly. Lu Bai, on the other hand, had no choice but to use all his power to resist the mountain wind. The cloak he was wearing was torn apart by the mountain wind. "Ah, my cloak. I bought this cloak with 3 gold coins. Lu Bai was heartbroken. Si Kongyao giggled from the side. Be careful, there are bolts. Lin Muyu shouted. As expected, the people on the ground had already noticed the uninvited guests in the sky. A large group of mercenaries on the drill ground quickly spread out. There were more than a dozen ballistas set up around the drill ground, and the bolts were all aimed at the sky. Clang, 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 along with the sound of springs being fired, the giant ballistas with the iron nets were scattered into the sky. Be careful, the bolts have been tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone. Chen Heng shouted. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others immediately became serious. The demon heart stone was the nemesis of God state experts. Who would dare to be careless? Buzz! The ice origin sword blasted out with a biting cold storm, and the demon heart hunting net that was used to hunt giant dragons and dragon knights was torn apart. Not far away, Si Kongyao summoned an ice wall to block the iron nets. Zhuang Xiaoyu brandished his purple-gold fan and easily tore through the iron net. However, his gaze was cast in Lin Muyu's direction. He had just discovered that Lin Muyu was actually using an extremely superior wind elemental law of divine power. This made him even more puzzled. Which law did this kid specialize in? Why was he able to use the ice, fire, light, and wind element divine powers so easily? Furthermore, his attainment in each law was unfathomable. This person was not simple. If I fight him, can I win? Zhuang Xiaoyu asked himself, but his heart was full of worries. Although he killed the Demon King, he was also injured. Although Lin Muyu killed the Demon Venerable, it was hard to say whether he could kill the Demon King easily. If that was the case, Zhuang Xiaoyu's strength was definitely below Lin Muyu's. Thinking of this, Zhuang Xiaoyu glanced at Si Kongyao again. Along the way, Si Kongyao's attitude towards Lin Muyu was very obvious. She was very intimate with Lin Muyu. Sometimes, it was so intimate that it was a little out of line. Even when they were walking together, they looked so compatible. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but feel a twinge of pain in his heart. As the number 1 rising star of the Tianji Empire, he was now inferior to Lin Muyu. Since you gave birth to you and He Xingliang, young hero has made me so miserable. Be careful, someone has barged into the mountain. Ring the bell. Flaming wolf smoke, inform our brothers in the valley to send reinforcements. On the drill ground, a general holding an iron spear shouted loudly. Dang, 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 the piercing sound of a bell reverberated in the air. Black smoke rose from the Devil's Palm Mountains in the distance. It was indeed the smoke signal. No one knew how many mercenaries were stationed in this huge canyon, but once they gathered together, they would definitely be a terrifying force to be reckoned with. On the ground, the general holding the iron spear suddenly leaped up. His body was filled with divine power. He was also a God state expert. It's Saint Martial Venerable. Be careful. Chen Heng shouted in a low voice. However, this Saint Martial Venerable did not seem to be that strong. He shouted and stabbed his long spear at Zhuang Xiaoyu. Zhuang Xiaoyu responded calmly. He deftly blocked the tip of the iron spear with his purple gold fan and used his dark force to easily block it. In the next moment, the divine power surged out and turned into a whirlwind that wrapped around the general's body. Zhuang Xiaoyu waved his arm and shouted in a low voice, "Get lost. Absolute wind god storm coiling dragon." The general was caught off guard. He concentrated all his divine power on the tip of the spear, but he did not expect this seemingly gentle young man to have such a perfect control of his power. He skillfully pushed aside the general's divine power. Therefore, the direction the tip of the spear was pointed at was Lin Muyu. He stepped on the void and increased his power to an even higher level, stabbing straight at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. She could not help but secretly find it funny. Was Zhuang Xiaoyu trying to test her strength? Thinking up to this point, she did not hesitate to increase her power to about 70%. Starlight filled the ice origin sword. She directly slashed at the opponent's spear with first appearance of starlight. Clang! Metal and stone collided, and starlight flew. The hasty attack directly caused the general's body to fall. He stepped on the ground with a bang, and the divine power of first appearance of starlight was released from the soles of his feet. Poof! A shock wave spread out in all directions, and a group of mercenaries was thrown off their helmets and armor. They were in a sorry state. The general also stepped on the soil and took 3 steps back. His face was filled with disbelief. He looked up at Lin Muyu, who looked at ease in the sky. How is this possible? Who exactly are you? Lin Muyu was still carrying Lu Bai with one hand. The impact of the opponent's 9 Heavens Paradise divine wave on her right arm had dispersed easily. She smiled and said, "We are travelers from the Tianji Empire. We are here to pay a visit to leader LV Feng. Please pass a message for us." People from the Tianji Empire? The general's eyes turned cold. We, the Pishio mercenary group, have always been content with a corner of the world. We enjoy a life of freedom. We have nothing to do with the Tianji Empire. I wonder, why are you here? We simply want to see Lord LV Feng, Si Kongyao said with a smile. All right then. Please wait for a moment at the drill ground. I will go and invite the leader. Thank you. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others landed on the ground. The Pishio mercenaries around them were very nervous. Many of them had pulled their bows and arrows and pointed them at them. Their arrowheads were a little black. They must be demon heart arrows. The Devil's Palm Peaks did not lack demon heart stones. Naturally, they did not lack demon heart arrows. Even a few huge ballistas in the distance were pointed at them. Each ballista was equipped with more than 10 arrows. They were continuous crossbow bolts. Lin Muyu was silent. She watched everything here closely. Naturally, she had other plans in mind. Not long after, the door of the green brick building in front of them slowly opened. A group of people surrounded a man in armor and walked out. Needless to say, the man in the middle was LV Feng. He was a little fat, but he was very strong. His clothes were messy and his face was slightly red. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but frown. As expected of the greedy and lustful LV Feng. He is actually lewd in broad daylight. Even in broad daylight, he doesn't let go of the opportunity to enjoy himself. Lin Muyu said, "If you want to spar with LV Feng, who will go first?" It's a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that he has just consumed a lot of profound qi. What do you mean by consuming profound qi? Si Kongyao turned around and looked at him. She asked very seriously. Lin Muyu pondered. She did not know how to answer. Zhuang Xiaoyu said, "Yao, don't ask this kind of question. This is a man's business." However, this indirectly reflected a problem. Si Kongyao was still a girl who was not married yet. Her understanding in this area was clearly a blank. Lu Bai kindly explained, wasting one's essence qi refers to the matters of love between a man and a woman. Essence qi is the crystallization of the human body's essence. For a man, after consuming some of his essence qi, both his physical strength and divine power will be greatly damaged. It's equivalent to a period of weakness. I think this is probably what young hero meant. Si Kongyao's little face immediately turned red. She said, "Humph, all men are bad." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth rose. She did not know where this little girl's understanding had gone wrong. However, it did not matter. There was no need to care about her. Who is looking for me? LV Feng walked slowly surrounded by a group of high-level mercenaries. The ruddiness on his face was gradually dissipating. It was replaced by paleness, which was caused by excessive consumption of profound qi. He glanced at the people one by one. When he saw Shang Qian and Si Kongyao, his eyes suddenly brightened. He said, "Oh, there are such beautiful women who can topple a country." Ha ha ha, Zhuang Xiaoyu squinted and went forward to the etiquette of the Tianji Empire. He said, I am Zhuang Xiaoyu, the son of Zhuang Xian, the premier of the Tianji Empire. This is Miss Si Kongyao of the Tianji sect. The other miss is Shang Qian of the Tianji city. He only said the names of these three people, probably because these three people had the highest status. However, if Zhuang Xiaoyu knew that Lin Muyu's real identity was King Qin, one of the three kings of the Qin Empire, he would probably not say so. It turns out that you are the new talents of the Tianji Empire. LV Feng squinted, and the lust in his eyes disappeared. He was a man who knew when to advance and when to retreat. After knowing the identity of these people, he naturally would not have any improper thoughts. After all, the Tianji Empire could not be provoked. May I know what you have come to my Pishio mercenary group for? There's nothing important. Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled slightly. It's just that I have long heard that Lord LV Feng has swept the Blackstone Empire with a fire blade and is almost invincible. Therefore, we juniors have come to visit you. Please teach us, Lord LV Feng. You have come to compare martial arts with me? LV Feng could not help laughing. Interesting, interesting. A few juniors are so arrogant. Zhuang Xiaoyu, don't think that you are so great because you are the #1 new talent of the Tianji Empire. Believe it or not, you can't even take 3 strikes of my fire blade. Zhuang Xiaoyu laughed. If it is true, I, Zhuang Xiaoyu, am sincerely convinced. Then come. Wait. LV Feng waved his hand, gesturing for his subordinates to step back and remove the arrow formation. He said, if it is just a competition, it will be very boring. Why don't we make a bet? A bet? What kind of bet? If I win, I want to take away a treasure from you. If I lose, you can take away something from my stronghold. How about it? LV Feng narrowed his eyes and said with a confident smile, Young Master Zhuang, do you dare? Why not? Zhuang Xiaoyu said. Tell me, how many moves will it take to determine the winner? 10 moves. LV Feng said calmly. It will only take 10 moves to determine the winner. All right. Zhuang Xiaoyu nodded and said, then please teach me, Lord LV Feng. Buzz buzz buzz, LV Feng stood where he was, but a prairie fire burned around him, forcing Si Kongyao, Shang Qian, and the others to retreat. What a strong fire law divine power. Si Kongyao was secretly shocked. It seemed that Zhuang Xiaoyu was going to be at a disadvantage. LV Feng's fire divine power was at least at the 50th Grotto Heaven realm. No one would have thought that a mere mercenary group's leader had hidden such a cultivation. Chapter 781. Hong. The raging flame surrounded the long blade like a roaring dragon. LV Feng's aura was extremely majestic. With a loud roar, he revealed the aura of a powerhouse that was completely different from a greedy and lecherous person. The long blade fell from the sky and attacked Zhuang Xiaoyu from above. Before the long blade fell, the aura had already shrouded the ground, making it impossible for Zhuang Xiaoyu to dodge. Humph. After a cold snort, Zhuang Xiaoyu gathered all the strength in his body. This was the first time he used his full strength since he was injured. He could use at least 90% of his peak strength. He held the purple gold fan horizontally, and 90% of the power of the storm-coiling dragon swept out, heading straight for LV Feng's chest. Ha 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 ha, in the midst of LV Feng's ferocious laughter, Zhuang Xiaoyu flew out like a cannonball with a bang. His face instantly turned pale, and the purple gold fan almost flew out of his hand. His arm felt as if it was filled with lead, and it was difficult to lift it. The intense burning pain spread throughout his body, and he only managed to stabilize himself after taking dozens of steps back. His body shook, and divine power seeped out of his body, dispersing the waves of divine power from the 50-second paradise that LV Feng had blasted into his body. However, his heart was getting colder and colder. LV Feng was so powerful. How was the taste of the first move? LV Feng stood majestically in the air and looked down at Zhuang Xiaoyu. He stroked his beard and smiled, Young man, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How do you think your grandfather established himself in the Blackstone Empire? Zhuang Xiaoyu was filled with hatred, and his face was filled with anger and shame. The number one talent of the Tianji Empire had actually been humiliated like this. This was simply unacceptable. However, the difference was right in front of him. He was completely defeated in the battle between the 29th and 52nd Paradise. Even if he had the cast Immortal Fate and his opponent had the Mortal Fate, the difference was obvious. It's not over yet. Zhuang Xiaoyu's aura sank, and he immediately launched the next move. The surrounding wind seemed to be tearing everything apart. It was the third move of the absolute wind god, tearing heaven and earth. Child's play. LV foam stood tall in the air, and the surroundings were once again set ablaze. Xiao xiao sounds rang out unceasingly as the flames spun around like vines, forming a huge whirlpool. He shouted in a low voice, "Watch how this daddy's endless fire domain breaks your divine wind extinction." The flames were like a whirlpool, constantly devouring Zhuang Xiaoyu's wind blades. Crackling sounds of energy colliding resounded in the air, causing the mercenaries on the ground to retreat again and again in fear of being affected by this battle between gods. In the end, the flames won against the wind blades. Whoosh! Lu Feng's figure spun as he broke through the void. In the next moment, he had already appeared above Zhuang Xiaoyu's head. His saber slashed down like lightning as he roared, "Watch out for my saber." Close combat was what Zhuang Xiaoyu, a cultivator of the law of wind, feared the most. In his haste, he hurriedly used his purple gold fan to block, but with a dang sound, his arm had already been knocked away. He was barely able to block, but LV Feng's body was like a spinning top, and he quickly sent a second strike down. With a poochie sound, blood splattered, and a finger-long wound appeared on the left side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. Wah! Zhuang Xiaoyu retreated again and again. His injuries were not serious, but the confidence in his heart was almost completely shattered. His divine power astral wall had actually been instantly pierced by a saber. What kind of blow was this? After stabilizing his body, Zhuang Xiaoyu panted miserably, but he did not show any signs of admitting defeat. He gently waved his purple gold fan, and dimensional cracks appeared around him. Those were the starting points of the dimensional wind blades. In the blink of an eye, the dimensional wind blades covered the sky and earth, dancing wildly in the surroundings. It was extremely terrifying. Zhuang Xiaoyu's figure slowly rose up, and he stood amidst the lightning and thunder like a god. That's more like it. Lu Feng stroked his beard and laughed. Thinking back, the Zhuang family's ultimate technique was indeed unique on the continent. However, in the hands of your generation, its power was greatly reduced. If the Zhuang family's ancestor had used the wind god absolute, perhaps the first 3 moves would have been enough to defeat me. As for you, you dare to challenge me with your half-baked cultivation? You're simply asking to be humiliated. What's the point of saying so much? Zhuang Xiaoyu could not bear the humiliation and roared, "If you have the guts, then come and break this young master's dimensional chaos /" Ha 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 ha, LV Feng laughed maniacally. "Open your dog eyes, and I'll break it for you to see." Flames surged, and LV Feng roared. The divine power around his body quickly scattered, and his entire body was already in a huge ball of fire with a radius of nearly 10 meters. This ball of fire was like a barrier protecting him, and when the dimensional wind blades attacked, the ball of fire would definitely blast out a saber light to disperse the dimensional wind blades. Pang, pang, pang. The densely packed sounds of slashing interweaved into one. After nearly half a minute, Zhuang Xiaoyu's dimensional chaos /, which had almost exhausted his divine power, could not break through LV Feng's wall of fire. He could not help but take a step back, and his face was full of shock. How is this possible? How can a mere mortal be so powerful? Swish! An opening suddenly appeared in the huge ball of fire, and LV Feng shot toward Zhuang Xiaoyu like a sharp arrow with his long saber. Pfft! The long saber swung, and another wound appeared on the other side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. He whimpered, and before he could react, LV Feng's body sank, and his iron fist filled with flame god power smashed straight into Zhuang Xiaoyu's abdomen. Bam! Zhuang Xiaoyu's body crashed into the short wall like a cannonball, and only stopped after passing through 3 layers of short walls. He lay there with his face covered in dirt, and even breathing was a little difficult. Big brother Xiaoyu. Si Kongyao was stunned, and she quickly flew over to help Zhuang Xiaoyu up. She quickly used her divine power to replenish his strength. Yao, don't help me. Zhuang Xiaoyu supported himself with the broken wall and stood up shakily. His face was full of hatred as he looked at LV Feng, who was in the air, and said, I've lost, and I accept it wholeheartedly. Just tell me what treasures you want from me. Whether it's the purple gold fan or the treasures in my space bag, I'll give them to you if you want them. There's no need, young Master Zhuang. LV Feng smiled coldly, raised his long saber, and said, You've already given me your treasures. What do you mean? Don't you understand? LV Feng pointed a finger at Zhuang Xiaoyu's face and said, I hate handsome men like you the most in my life. You think you can sleep with any woman you want just by relying on your looks? Exactly what do you have? Are you even worthy? I hate you people to death, so I cut your face twice. Let me tell you, in this world, it's fine if your face isn't good-looking enough, but your fists must be hard enough. Do you understand? LV Feng stood majestically in the air, and his beard fluttered in the wind. He actually gave off the vibe of a senior who had attained enlightenment. His face somewhat resembled someone, Wu Mengda. I've learned something. Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. This time, he was truly convinced. Although LV Feng was only a mortal, his attainments in martial arts far surpassed his. This was a true powerhouse. At this moment, LV Feng's gaze fell on Si Kongyao. He said, the beloved daughter of the Celestial Enlightenment sect leader, Si Kongyao, do you want to challenge me? If you want to challenge me, I've already thought of what I want. Si Kongyao was startled. What do you want? Other than your first time, what else can I want? LV Feng didn't lose his cool and said with a smile. Shameless. Si Kongyao was embarrassed and angry. She gritted her teeth. Shang Qian hurriedly said, Yao, don't be rash. Even young Master Zhuang Xiaoyu lost. You must not be rash. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll fall into his trap. Shang Qian even regretted agreeing to come to the Devil's Palm Peaks. They had underestimated LV Feng too much. It was like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Lin Muyu also said, don't be rash. Chen Hang hasn't made a move yet. Maybe he can win against LV Feng? Chen Hang trembled at the side. He cursed in his heart that this brat was inhumane. LV Feng was a 52nd Heaven Realm powerhouse. He was already very strong. Moreover, he was injured. It was impossible for him to be LV Feng's opponent. Chen Hang? LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at the crowd. He replied with an, oh, and said with a smile, I remember now. There is indeed a man in the Shang family of Tianji City who is good at trapping horses. His name is Chen Hang. It is said that he has some skills. Chen Hang's face turned pale. LV Feng, don't go too far. I'm already injured. Otherwise, injured? What kind of injury? LV Feng asked. Chen Hang said, I was hit by the demon god Nushi's divine sound. My meridians and sea of qi are all injured. Meridians are injured? LV Feng frowned and smiled. Then. I'll give you a handicap. I'll give you an arm. How about that? What do you mean? That's what I mean. LV Feng suddenly stretched out his left hand. He clenched his fist and forcefully activated his divine force. Crack, crack, crack. His meridians were cracking. Blood splattered everywhere. Even if his left arm flew away in a short period of time, it would take at least 3 to 5 days to recover even if he used his divine force to heal it. He panted miserably and smiled. How about it? Do you dare to fight with me? Madman, he's a madman. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. In order to provoke Chen Hang into accepting the challenge, LV Feng actually destroyed his own arm. How crazy was this? Did he really want to win against this group of people in front of him? Lin Muyu remained silent. She was still like a servant beside Si Kongyao. She used the spirit pulse art to maintain her aura at the first layer of grotto heaven level. This way, even LV Feng couldn't see through her. LV Feng looked down on this group of people and broke his own arm. This was the result that Lin Muyu wanted. Originally, he was worried that he wasn't a match for this 52nd layer grotto heaven godly king. Now, everything was fine. He was courting death. He couldn't blame others. Uncle Chen Hang, be careful. Shang Qian whispered. Chen Hang gritted his teeth and gripped the rock-collapsing spear tightly. He said, then, let me experience your martial arts. LV Feng's face was full of contempt. He could see the depth of Chen Hang's strength. This person was definitely not a match for him. Chapter 782. Pung. A powerful flame blasted out like a giant's arm. A streak of blood mixed with the morning glow. Chen Hang spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly in the air. The rock-collapsing spear made a buzzing sound as it flipped in the air and landed heavily on the wall. Chen Hang fell to the ground in a sorry state. He knelt on one knee and held the cold ground with his hand. He coughed violently and vomited a mouthful of blood. The flame force in his body seemed to be devouring his flesh and blood. LV Feng's flame force was too strong. Even if Chen Hang was at his peak, he would only have a 30% chance of winning against LV Feng. Not to mention that the injury caused by the Demon Emperor Nushi's zither attack in his body had yet to fully recover. Uncle Chen Hang. Shang Qian and Si Kongyao rushed to Chen Hang's left and right respectively and helped him up. Si Kongyao asked with concern, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Chen Hang pushed away the two girls' support and cupped his fists. "Sir LV Feng, I've lost." "I don't know, what do you want from me?" "As long as you want it, Chen Hang will not complain." "I want that spear of yours." LV Feng held the scorching flame saber and stood proudly in the air like a deity looking down at the group. Chen Hang coughed violently again and looked at Lin Muyu. "Young hero, you don't have any excuses this time, right? The honor and disgrace of our group rests on you alone." Lin Muyu kept quiet as he wasn't confident of winning. LV Feng defeated Zhuang Xiaoyu in 3 moves and Chen Hang in 14 moves. How could a hierarch like him look down on such strength? However, at this moment, LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. He pointed at him and said, "That brat, you're much better looking than the previous one. I've long disliked you. Come on. Since you have the guts to challenge my Pishio mercenaries' mountain gate, let me see how capable you are." Shi Tianming was shocked and secretly rejoiced. "Fortunately, I'm not good looking. Otherwise, I'd be dead." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu with concern and said, "Young swordsman, LV Feng's strength is unfathomable. I think, if it's not necessary, there's no need to stand out. Let's go back safely and admit that we're cowards." "Why should I admit defeat?" Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Ice Origin sword from her back and said with a smile, "It's rare to meet such an expert. If I don't try, how can I be willing to go back? Are you crazy?" Lu Bai's eyes widened. At this moment, in his eyes, Lin Muyu and LV Feng had already been categorized as the same kind of people. Lunatics, a group of people who went crazy in pursuit of power. However, what would be the outcome of a duel between two madmen? Shang Qian walked forward and said faintly, "Young hero, it's all up to you now. Be careful." Lin Muyu nodded. Shang Qian had a faint fragrance of a young girl. She was indeed a rare beauty, but her thoughts were too deep. It was so deep that Lin Muyu was unwilling to know more about her. Si Kongyao held the thin sword in her hand and looked at LV Feng coldly. LV Feng's words just now were an insult to her. If she was strong enough, she would kill him without hesitation. Si Kongyao would definitely do it. This was her personality. She wouldn't offend others if they didn't offend her. Once her bottom line was crossed, there was nothing she wouldn't do. Lin Muyu looked at her and nodded slightly, as if telling her, "I'll help you get back at him." Si Kongyao didn't say much. She only said 2 words, "Be careful." And Lin Muyu turned around and said to LV Feng, who was in the air, "Are we still the same? The winner can take something from the loser?" "That's right." The corner of LV Feng's mouth curled up. "But, with just you? Can you really win? How would I know if I don't try?" Lin Muyu chuckled. His aura didn't lose out to LV Feng in the slightest. He stepped into the sky, and with every step he took, his strength increased by 10%. When he took 10 steps forward, his body was already shrouded in dazzling golden god force. His strength had also reached the highest level, and the spirit beads of law formed by his supreme being godhead were ready to appear. LV Feng couldn't help but frown. He realized that this kid in front of him wasn't someone Zhuang Xiaoyu and Shen Heng could compare to. At the very least, his ability to conceal his aura was better than the former's. "I actually misjudged you." "Interesting." LV Feng laughed heartily. The aura around him rose rapidly, and a mountain-like domain pressure descended on the surroundings. Lin Muyu held the sword in one hand and took a deep breath. The sovereign lattice in his high trembled slightly, and a majestic domain energy spread out. It actually condensed into a physical attack that rippled outwards. For a moment, the people on the ground were suffocated by the domain pressure of the 2 God realm experts. Hua hua hua, a fierce wind blew as the domains of the 2 collided. They were evenly matched. A wave of God's wave was like a heavy blast. The collision of the waves was like a heavy bomb exploding in the air. Waves of airflow crazily surged in all directions. Soon, the people of the Pai Xiu mercenary group couldn't bear it anymore and were blown to the left and right. "Retreat, retreat to the outside of the wall," an officer ordered loudly. Among Si Kongyao's group, Lu Bai was the first to be unable to bear it. His nose was already bleeding, and he blankly wiped it. His hand was covered in blood, and his breathing became heavy as he said, "Are the 2 of them still human? What is this unbearable pressure?" "It's a domain." Si Kongyao looked at the 2 figures in the sky, and said indifferently, "How can a mortal withstand the domain pressure of a god?" "Lu Bai, go to the outer wall with the mercenaries. You will bleed to death if you stay here." Okay, Lu Bai nodded repeatedly, and glared at Shi Tianming. "Young Master Shi, do you think you are much stronger than me? Do you want to hide with me?" Shi Tianming nodded hurriedly. "Let's go." The 2 of them fled. Shen Heng squinted his eyes and condensed a rock armor to resist the domain pressure. He said, "This is too strange." "What's strange?" Shang Qian asked with a pale face. It was already very difficult for her to resist the domain pressure. Shen Heng panted heavily and said, "I have seen young heroes move. He is only at the 22nd Grotto Heaven stage, while LV Feng is at the 52nd Grotto Heaven stage. There is a huge difference of 30 Grotto Heaven stage, which is equivalent to a major realm. With such a difference, he is actually able to stand under LV Feng's domain pressure. How is this possible? Could it be that he has cultivated a secret art related to domain? Impossible. Even if he has a secret art, a domain is a domain, and the difference between the major realms is incalculable. Or, his divine spark grade." Shang Qian's intelligent eyes glowed with light, and she said, "During the battle with the demon the Arch, I have seen it in a glance. He is able to take out the law spirit pearl. Could it be the cast immortal spark or the master god spark? That's even more impossible." Shen Heng said, "All gods with the cast immortal spark will be listed in the register, and the Western Heaven realm will naturally send an envoy to recruit them. They will also promise that once they cultivate the great Tao, they will be given the identity of a high-level angel. But he did not, and if it is the Master God Spark, it is even more impossible. Every Master God Spark will cause the entire divine realm to tremble, and he will become an opponent that the 4 divine realms will fight to recruit. How can he be a mere wanderer in the celestial pole continent? Then he. Shang Qian was a little puzzled. How can he resist LV Feng's domain? I don't know. Chen Heng shook his head tiredly. I can't see through him. I really can't see through him. Uncle Chen Heng, step back and rest for a while. In the sky, the collision of the domain's airflow became more and more intense. Purple light flashed, and there was a great momentum of thunder. 2 tiny figures were dominating the heaven and earth. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and in the distance, tornadoes had already formed. A catastrophe was quietly descending because of this battle. Only Lin Muyu knew the bitterness of this. LV Feng's pressure came wave after wave, and it was extremely concentrated. It was as if he wanted to attack her divine spark, damage it, and retreat in the face of difficulties. Thus, Lin Muyu could only use all her strength to activate her divine power, and the sea of consciousness surged. This immature sovereign spark swayed endlessly in the waves, and it emitted a light that soared into the sky, nurturing more divine power for its master. Originally, Lin Muyu's paradise cultivation was far inferior to her opponent's, but the sovereign spark's recovery speed was too fast, so in the time it took for LV Feng to activate 52 waves, Lin Muyu could repeat the domain 2 to 3 times, forming more than 50 waves of divine waves to resist LV Feng. Pooh! Lin Muyu felt a sweetness in her throat, and she was the first to succumb to the pressure. A trickle of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. LV Feng wasn't any better. His face was pale, and the fire saber in his hand was trembling. He shouted, "Brat, if you surrender now, I won't hold it against you." Lin Muyu didn't say a word, and she continued to activate her divine power. This was the time to kill LV Feng. In less than half a minute, LV Feng spat out a mouthful of blood, and the flames around him swirled rapidly. He forcefully broke free from the domain's restraint, and he swung his saber at Lin Muyu. Finally, it was time for a head-on battle. The Ice Origin sword trembled lightly, and rays of starlight formed into armor that surrounded Lin Muyu. This was the defensive effect of the Star Lotus armor. The two passed by each other, and as their weapons clashed, they both launched a series of attacks at each other. Bang, bang, bang. LV Feng's 3 consecutive kicks landed on Lin Muyu's calf, and Lin Muyu didn't hesitate to gather the Law of Ice on her fist, and she punched LV Feng's back with all her strength. Pung! The icy cold fist actually didn't break through the opponent's defense. LV Feng's body was surrounded by a dense golden protective wall. It was the God Wall. Lin Muyu was at a disadvantage. She stepped on the void, turned around, and launched a series of fierce sword attacks. The angles were tricky, and each sword was faster than the previous one. In an instant, LV Feng had no choice but to deal with it. Clang, clang, clang. The two's bodies were hidden in the dark clouds, and the people on the ground could only see rays of golden light shooting out from the dark clouds. Then, in the next 1 to 2 seconds, there was the impact of the attack, and the waves swept across the ground. He's so strong. Shang Qian looked up at the sky, and her beautiful eyes were blurred. Si Kongyao also raised her long, snow-white neck, and her eyes were rippling with desire. She muttered, "If he could be used by me, how good would that be?" Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. "That's impossible. Give up, Yao. He's destined not to be used by you." "So what?" Si Kongyao suddenly smiled like a blooming flower. Chapter 783. The 17th Move. Streaks of lightning circulated around Lin Muyu's fist. This heavy punch landed on LV Feng's left arm in a gorgeous arc. It was his injured left arm. Bang! The divine wall finally couldn't withstand Lin Muyu's powerful attack. LV Feng's divine wall started to break. LV Feng vomited a mouthful of blood. He held his saber with one hand and roared, "Who are you? Is it important who I am?" Lin Muyu panted heavily. The clothes on his body were almost torn apart by his opponent's flame force, revealing his strong physique. Every line of his muscles looked incomparably sturdy, and the light of lightning constantly flickered around his body. During the battle, he realized that LV Feng's resistance to lightning was very weak, so he decided to hit LV Feng while he was down, constantly bombarding LV Feng's wounds with his law of lightning. In a battle of life and death, how could there be any benevolence? LV Feng howled and retreated dozens of meters. His body was once again surrounded by prairie fire. The light from his saber soared into the sky as if it was going to split the sky. He shouted, "I will not lose. I, LV Feng, will not lose." Buzz! The saber light slashed down with flames. Lin Muyu faced the saber light. But the moment his face touched the saber light, his body suddenly disappeared. Shatter the void. LV Feng cursed in his heart. This kid's recovery speed was too fast. Lightning flashed behind him. LV Feng couldn't do anything anymore. 5 Elements 8 Wastelands Extermination. The spiritual power from all directions gathered together in the light of the law of lightning. As Lin Muyu's fist landed heavily on LV Feng's back, the sound of ribs breaking could be heard. LV Feng howled. His reaction was shockingly fast. His elbow suddenly smashed in the opposite direction and hit Lin Muyu's shoulder. The 52 heavenly grotto heaven waves violently attacked and instantly destroyed the dragon blood battle shield. It even tore open his flesh and blood splattered. But that wasn't all. Buzz! The handle of the saber was sent backward. Bang! Lin Muyu was struck in the Qi Si in her lower abdomen. With a muffled groan, she turned into a ball of lightning and was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Her face was pale. LV Feng had already used his killing move, and every move was aimed at her vitals. Bastard! Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and pounced forward with her sword. Disregarding her injuries, she launched a counterattack. Her long sword struck the hilt of the saber 5 times in a row. LV Feng did not seem to have the strength to fight back. But just when Lin Muyu was slightly careless, LV Feng actually flipped the long saber and suddenly grabbed the sword hilt, roaring, "Let go!" With a loud bang, he kicked Lin Muyu's wrist, and the Ice Origin sword flew out of her hand. Crash! Amidst the dark clouds, the Ice Origin sword spun and descended, leaving a trail of lightning in its wake. Is that the Ice Origin sword? Si Kongyao was stunned. She was very worried. Is he alright? Zhuang Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes. Don't worry, Yao. He won't die. Boom boom. The sound of fists colliding echoed in the dark clouds. The two of them had already begun to fight with their lives on the line. The more LV Feng fought, the more valiant he became. There was a proud expression on his face, and his aura suppressed Lin Muyu's. He waved his long saber and slashed randomly. Rays of saber light bombarded Lin Muyu. Die for me. The long saber suddenly struck out like lightning. This saber was as fast as lightning, and it was a fatal saber strike. Lin Muyu stepped into the air. Her entire body was covered in blood, but she maintained a clear mind and calmness. Her body swayed, and she dodged this fatal strike. Her hands grabbed the edge of the saber, and she used her bare hands to block the saber. Under LV Feng's shocked gaze, Lin Muyu grabbed the edge of the saber and suddenly lifted her body. Her knee smashed into LV Feng's abdomen, forcing him to abandon his saber. Bastard! Just as LV Feng abandoned his weapon and prepared to fight with his bare hands, Lin Muyu's body spun, and a cold light pressed against LV Feng's neck. It was the demonic noise saber. This small demonic noise saber was like an exquisite dagger in Lin Muyu's hands. The sharp edge had already cut open LV Feng's skin, and a stream of blood dripped down. As long as Lin Muyu used more strength, LV Feng's head would be separated from his body. LV Feng was so scared that he couldn't move. He silently stayed in the air, closed his eyes, and said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me." "I don't want to kill you." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and said with a sad smile, "I only want to fight you to the death." "Have you already forgotten our bet? You won't kill me?" LV Feng was delighted. "Yes, but the condition is that you admit defeat." "All right, I admit defeat." LV Feng was very straightforward. "Very well, thank you for letting me win." Lin Muyu moved the magic noise saber away. She wasn't worried about LV Feng's counterattack because she had a weapon in her hand and LV Feng didn't. Moreover, LV Feng was seriously injured. It would be a piece of cake for her to kill him. The wind howled and the dark clouds dissipated. Two figures descended from the sky. It was Lin Muyu and LV Feng who looked extremely miserable. Seeing the magic noise saber in Lin Muyu's hand, they immediately knew the result. Si Kongyao was overjoyed. She walked forward and said, "Young hero, you won?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded heavily. The group of mercenary leaders was stunned. There were two ultimate gods among them who knew LV Feng's strength. He was a peerless expert who was about to peek into the Emperor God realm. How could such a person lose? LV Feng said with a dark face, "Yes, I lost. I lost the bet. Tell me, what do you want from me?" "Treasures, weapons, or even my arms or legs. If you want them, I will give them to you." "What do I want these for?" Lin Muyu smiled and said in front of LV Feng's subordinates, "I want the position of the Pishio mercenary group's leader." "What did you say?" LV Feng was shocked. "You want the Pishio mercenary group? Why, can't I? It's also an item that belongs to you, isn't it?" "This." LV Feng's face became even uglier. He said, "Are you sure you want to be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group? Are you sure you can control my group of brothers?" "No, I don't want to be the leader." Lin Muyu shouted from afar, "Bai, come here." Lu Bai hurriedly walked over and asked, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" Lin Muyu patted Lu Bai's shoulder and said with a smile, "If I don't want to be the leader, let him be." "What?" The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. LV Feng couldn't help but sneer and said, "What do the Pishio mercenary group rely on to stand tall on the Devil's Palm Peaks? It's our fists and brotherhood. Just based on this low cultivation trash, how can he be the leader of our Pishio mercenary group? If you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. Do you want to renege on your debt?" Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "If you break your promise in front of everyone, I want to see how you will convince the others in the future and how you will be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group." Several mercenary leaders' faces turned red and said angrily, "No, absolutely not. We will only obey LV Feng. This person called Lu Bai can go eat s." Lu Bai didn't dare to say anything. After all, these mercenary leaders were all burly and there was no lack of sacred warrior-level experts among them. It wouldn't be good if he spoke carelessly and was beaten to death. Lin Muyu proudly said, "Just say, if you agree to bet, you must accept your loss." LV Feng. Her gaze was like a sharp sword, making LV Feng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. "Good. Good. Good." LV Feng said good 3 times. He reached into his space bag and took out a blood-red thumb ring and said, "This vermilion bird thumb ring is the token of our Pishio mercenary group's leader. I'll give it to you." With a pa sound, Lin Muyu caught the thumb ring and handed it to Lu Bai and said, "Put it on." Lu Bai was stunned, but Lin Muyu's words were not a discussion, but an order. He could only put it on. Si Kongyao, Chen Heng, Shang Qian and the others were also dumbfounded. No one knew what Lin Muyu wanted to do. Why did he let Lu Bai be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group? "All right, why don't you come and greet the new leader?" Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. His imposing manner was awe-inspiring. There was actually a faint aura of a king. The group of mercenary leaders looked at each other. In the end, they actually knelt together and said in an uneven voice, "We greet the leader." "What about you?" Lin Muyu stared at LV Feng. "You." LV Feng gritted his teeth. In the end, his left arm trembled as he knelt on one knee and said, "Subordinate LV Feng greets leader Lu Bai." Lin Muyu smiled with satisfaction. "We are the leader's distinguished guests. Treat us well. It's going to be noon soon. Aren't you going to arrange lunch and accommodation?" "Yes." LV Feng cupped his fists, his face was ashen. The group slowly entered the courtyard of the Pishio mercenary group. Si Kongyao and Shang Qian were confused. "What is he going to do?" Shang Qian asked in confusion. "I don't know." Si Kongyao smiled slightly. Her easygoing personality made it easier for her to get happy. She said with a smile, "Maybe this guy just wants to cheat us for a meal. Anyway, it's good for us to eat and drink. It's rare for us to have a good meal after coming out for so many days." Shang Qian was a little speechless. Zhuang Xiaoyu held the purple gold fan in his hand and looked around coldly. As the son of the prime minister, how could he be willing to associate with mercenaries? But at this time, he really had no choice. He had to stay here even if he didn't want to. Who knew what Lin Muyu was going to do? After a sumptuous lunch, Lin Muyu called the 7 captaincy leaders of the Pishio mercenary group into the secret room to lecture them one by one. Each of them was lectured for nearly 30 minutes. Si Kongyao, Lu Bai, and others were very annoyed. When Lin Muyu finished lecturing them, it was already night. Then came the dinner party. After eating and drinking, they went back to their rooms to rest. Lu Bai slept in the leader's room where LV Feng used to live. After dismissing the maids, he couldn't fall asleep. Lini, when he was half asleep, someone suddenly woke up Lu Bai. It was Lin Muyu's voice. "What's wrong, young hero? Go to sleep under the bed. Give the bed to me." "Why?" "Why? Because you can't beat me. Can you?" "Yes." You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.